difficult to find two more thrilling or exciting ball games than those two to get a season underway. Today, we've had thunderstorms throughout southern Ontario. The weatherman tells us they're through. Well, let's hope so. But we will have a brisk breeze for this football game. And it's a pleasure to have with me again my two partners, of course, Pat Marsden and Leif Pedersen. And Pat, after those first two contests, you have to be excited about 85 of the CFL.
Bill, let me assure you and everybody across Canada that Leif and I are excited about this game, about the 1985 season in this Canadian Football League, because we think the action is going to be outstanding. And I think tonight could be a surprise game, Leif.
Well, I do, Pat, because really the Hamilton Tiger Cats have excellent personnel. A lot of people have written them off already. They've got young quarterbacks. That's the only real problem.
Well, I'll tell you, the British Columbia Lions don't have a young quarterback. They've got the man who can really do the job for them, and he was doing it last year until he was injured in a game against the Toronto Argonauts. I refer, of course, to the great Roy DeWalt. DeWalt missed the rest of the season from this point onward, and of course we all know that Winnipeg went on to win the Western Conference and ultimately the Grey Cup.
And for the Hamilton Ticats, although they were 6-9-1 last year, they made the playoffs, upset Toronto, and found themselves in the Grey Cup against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, largely due to the play of quarterback Dieter Brock. He is no longer here. The fortunes of the Ticats will rest on the shoulders of two young quarterbacks, Jeff Tedford and Peter Gales. Between them in 3 years, they've only thrown 110 passes, not very much. So we'll see what they can put together tonight.
It'll be interesting to see just how well the British Columbia Lions can play tonight, because there is so much pressure on them to do well. Everybody across the country seems to feel that it'll be a dogfight between the Lions and Blue Bombers for first spot in the West.
Well, I couldn't disagree with that, Pat. Lions finished first last year, and it looks so tight. We've had an upset, I consider, last night, so anything can happen. Ticats say they can beat this club, too.
Well, we know this much. They can score some points because they have some outstanding people at those skill positions. And I'm really looking forward tonight to seeing running back Kevan Jenkins, a man that Coach Donnie Matthews says is really going to be special in the Canadian Football League. We'll look for him and the rest of the Lions and the Hamilton Ticats, because tonight the CTV television network is proud to present from Ivor Wynne Stadium in the steel capital of Canada, the highly rated British Columbia Lions and the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
This CFL telecast is brought to you by Carling O'Keefe Sports, bringing the sports world home to you.
Extra Old Stock, great new case.
You can now get aluminum cans of O'Keefe's Extra Old Stock in new compact 12 and 24 packs. They're easy to handle and easy to store. A convenient way to pick up beer.
O'Keefe's Extra Old Stock, great new case.
O'Keefe's Extra Old Stock in its great new case.
It's not a big crowd here at Ivor Wynne Stadium tonight, but it should be an enthusiastic one. They want to show that, in fact, the Hamilton Ticats do have a club that can be respectable in 1985. We're going to find out in just a few moments, but right now, here's our national anthem.
Through patriot law, in all thy sons' command, with glowing hearts we see thee ride, the true north strong and free, from far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
The wind will definitely be a factor, and it will favor the Hamilton Ticats in this opening quarter. They will be kicking off to the British Columbia Lions. The Lions electing to take the ball. And the officiating staff for tonight's ball game will be highlighted by referee Ross Perrier. The umpire will be Chuck Paul. The headlinesman Ross Saunders. Terry Lawrence is the line judge. Brian McKee the back judge. And Alex McColeman will be the field judge. As far as head coach Don Matthews of the BC Lions is concerned, we have a chance to be the best since I have been the head coach of this club. We will find out tonight. Darnell Clash, number 1, Kevan Jenkins, number 23, are deep to receive the opening kickoff for both these clubs in this 1985 campaign. Bernie Ruoff to perform the duties for the Ticats, and we're underway as Darnell Clash takes it at the goal line. Clash gets up to about the 19-yard line, and that's where the BC Lions will put the ball into play, as down very quickly was Rocky DiPietro. And there's the way they'll line up offensively. The man to watch is the newcomer Kevan Jenkins, who did play a little bit last year from the University of Nevada in Las Vegas, but he is the key man as far as their running attack is concerned.
And they've got an excellent core of receivers, Pat. Ron Robinson inside, big, tall target, but in the preseason, they've really gone outside to both Jim Sandusky and, of course, Mervyn Fernandez.
On first down again is to the newcomer, Kevan Jenkins, and he stopped right at the line of scrimmage by Mitchell Price, and also Mike Walker was in to help out, number 65 and 61. The offensive line of the British Columbia Lions is really one of their strong points because, as you can see, everybody there is a veteran.
And Alan Wilson at center is playing his 200th game tonight in a 14-year career. That's really remarkable.
On 2nd and 10, DeWalt puts it up, and it is complete to Mervyn Fernandez. But Fernandez looks to be slightly short of that first down marker. He had to get to the 29-yard line, and let's see where the spot is. Ben Zambiazzi and Paul Bennett, 31 and 27, were there to bring him down. Let's take a look at that first completion of the 1985 campaign.
And why not go to the big performer, Mervyn Fernandez, running a hook pattern against the zone. He has to work back to the quarterback, and that's what takes him out of first down range as we await the measurement. Good play by Ben Zambiazzi, coming all the way across from middle linebacking spot.
They do come up just slightly short. It's 3rd and about a half yard to go. Al Bruno, well, he knows this much. He's got a good, solid defense. He had that at the tail end of 1984. That was really the reason why they got to the Grey Cup. But the Lions are in a gambling mood early. And on 3rd and less than a yard to go, inside their 30-yard line, they're going to go for it. Tim Cowan comes in to quarterback the club on these short yardage situations, keeps the ball himself, and the Lions feel they have a first down.
Pretty good penetration by the Hamilton defense there, but it looks as though they picked it up.
Bill? Well, we're going to have a measurement once again. And this is a critical one, but it does favor the BC Lions, who pick up the first down.
Well, I like the style of Donnie Matthews right off the bat. You always like to start the season off with a first down on your first possession, and they've been able to do that.
Gerald Bess is one-on-one against Mervyn Fernandez, who's flanked to the left of the formation. The flag comes down as DeWalt looks, fires, and completes it to John Pankratz for a pickup of about 5 yards, but there was a flag on the play. Offside is the call against the Hamilton Ticats, so the Lions will take the 5-yard penalty. And it'll bring up a 1st and 5 as we listen to referee Ross Perrier.
Offside, Hamilton, number 59. First down repeated.
The offside was against the defensive end, number 59, Rod Skillman. And so it'll bring up 1st and 5 for the Lions, who will open next Saturday night at home in BC Place against the Edmonton Eskimos. The toss is to Kevan Jenkins, and he's wrapped up as he gets to the 35-yard line. So he'll pick up a yard at most as Ben Zambiazzi, the middle linebacker, number 31, who has been such a real rock-solid performer for these Ticats for the past 8 years.
That's funny. They made a switch last year and put Zambiazzi in the middle, and John Priestner moved to the outside, and that little switch seemed to really gel their linebacking core.
DeWalt just fires it over the middle. It is complete to Ron Robinson, and Robinson has a first down out to the 49-yard line before he was tripped up by John Priestner, the 6-year veteran from the University of Western Ontario. That's a 12-yard pickup on the pass completion from Roy DeWalt to Ron Robinson.
Well, Hamilton gambled with the blitz, and that left one-on-one with a linebacker, and that's really a mismatch. Ron Robinson and John Priestner. Roy DeWalt found him, and they've got a pretty good drive put together here.
They spot the ball at the 47, so it is first down BC at that point. The pass is complete to Jim Sandusky, and Sandusky reaches for the midfield marker and just about makes it there for a pickup of 8 yards before Gerald Best, the cornerback, number 14, was there to bring him down.
This young receiver I really like, Pat, Jim Sandusky from San Diego State, only 5'9", but he was the most valuable player in the Hula Bowl in his senior year at university, and he's had an excellent exhibition season, leads the Lions with 18 catches throughout that preseason schedule.
Sandusky scored a touchdown in his first game last year against the Edmonton Eskimos after coming to the Lions from the San Diego Chargers. The toss goes to Kevan Jenkins. And he showed you the kind of speed he had as he was able to get outside of Paul Bennett and pick up the necessary yardage for the first down, getting into Hamilton territory at about the 52-yard line.
Well, Pat, you wanted to see this young fellow perform, and he really just simply outran the defense there to pick up that first down. Howard Fields looked like he might have a good shot, but he's elusive and exciting, great on the screens and draws as well.
What can you say about Don Matthews except what a terrific coaching career he's had to this point? He was with all those great Edmonton teams as well. DeWalt going deep. And the catch is ruled incomplete, looking for Mervyn Fernandez. Swervin' Mervyn felt that he had the ball in bounds. Not so. But it goes to show you the speed of Fernandez and the arm of Roy DeWalt.
You know, you were talking, Pat, about the fact that the head coach, Don Matthews, has done such a great job. I wonder how many people realize what his record is. 23-8-1. That is really amazing in this Canadian Football League.
Well, he's talking it over right now because he felt that Mervyn Fernandez had made that catch inbounds. But it is ruled incomplete, so it is second down and 10 for the Lions at the Hamilton 51.5-yard line. DeWalt throws. It is complete to Kevan Jenkins, but he does not get the first down because there to meet him was number 15, Les Brown, and he stops him at least 4 yards short of the first down marker.
Pat, I really think the Ticat defense fooled Roy DeWalt. They sat back in his own coverage and rolled those cornerbacks up. That allowed number 15, Les Brown, the second-year player from Colorado State, to come up and make the play on Kevan Jenkins. And I don't think Roy DeWalt was counting on seeing that kind of coverage on 2nd and 10.
So Louis Pasaglia comes into the ball game for his first punt of the year as Paul Bennett and Derek Peels, number 33. Peels is a rookie, back to return this punt. This is Bennett from his 10-yard line. Ooh, he takes a rock-hard hit but stays on his feet. And Paul Bennett shows you why he is one of the outstanding punt returners in the history of the CFL as he gets to the 25-yard line. It's still scoreless. Hamilton and British Columbia. We'll be back in a moment. Nearly returned punts for 1,000 yards in one season back in 1977 when he set the all-time mark. Right now, the Hamilton Ticats, with their first offensive possession of 1985, start at their 25-yard line. Jeff Tedford is the quarterback, and he comes out throwing. Incomplete. The pass was intended for Steve Stapler, the veteran from San Diego State. Wendell Williams, number 17, the rookie cornerback, was there to make the stop. As you look at the offensive alignment for the Ticats, Johnny Shepard is coming off an injured year of last season. Derek Peels is a rookie from Santa Monica Junior College. They are very high on him as you look at that veteran receiving corps. And Tedford doesn't get a chance to get it away because Mike Gray, the newcomer, who is filling in at that defensive tackle spot vacated by Mac Moore, was there to get the quarterback sacked.
Well, Michael Gray is really an interesting story. He's really taken a roundabout way in the starting lineup with the BC Lions as we see that all-Canadian offensive line with the Ticats. But Michael Gray started out with Seattle in 1983, was the last cut, went to BC, didn't make it, went back to BC again, 1984, was cut, went back to Seattle, was cut, and now he's a starting defensive tackle in the CFL, so he sure was persistent.
Bernie Ruoff standing inside his 5-yard line. Gets a kick away that's not very high and will allow Sandusky to take it on the run at his own 50. And Sandusky is all the way inside the Hamilton 30 to the 28-yard line. The problem from Bernie Ruoff's point of view was the fact that he didn't get the ball very high. It did go 44 yards, but it was returned 33 by the fleet Jim Sandusky.
Well, he sure got a picket line set up to the outside, but he's the guy that's got to find it. He did an excellent job, 33 yards, and he's got the BC Lions in great position here.
Roy DeWalt completed almost 60% of his passes last year, threw 21 for touchdowns. Now he fires it out to Mervyn Fernandez. Fernandez shakes the tackle of Gerald Best, stays on his feet and gets to the 15-yard line, which will be a first down for the Lions. Finally forced out by Ben Zambiazzi, the middle linebacker, the great veteran from the University of Georgia.
He's a tough guy to bring down in the open field. Gerald Best comes up to support on that quick out pattern, but he just can't put the hammer on him. Fernandez able to break loose, pick up 13 yards, and after a long punt return, boy, you like to take advantage of it. Looks like Roy DeWalt's being able to do that.
The Lions have a first down at the Hamilton 15. Kevan Jenkins, the ball carrier, but he's wrapped up very early by Mike Walker, the veteran from Washington State. At 6'2", 259 pounds, Walker showed you his quickness.
Well, Pat, I think that's really the strength of the Hamilton Tiger Cat defense is their front four. They're all imports, Rod Skillman, Mike Walker, Mitchell Price, and Grover Covington, and they rush the passer very well, but on that occasion, Mike Walker did a nice job reading trap.
There's no question that Hamilton will be competitive defensively. The only thing is, will they be able to score any points? Roy DeWalt was blitzed by Ben Zambiazzi, and as a result, he goes down. Rod Skillman was in to help out as well, but it was the blitz by Zambiazzi that was able to get to the BC quarterback.
Well, in the last series on 2nd and long, Hamilton went back in his own defense. This time, once again, they change up on Roy DeWalt as they come with the blitz and maybe take him by surprise again. Nevertheless, they've stopped BC at least from going in for the touchdown, and that brings on Louis Pasaglia.
So with the ball scrimmaged at the 22-yard line, the field goal try by Pasaglia will come from the 29. But they declined to go for the field goal. They try that little shovel pass that is read excellently by Grover Covington, John Priestman, and Rod Skillman, and the Lions will have to turn over the football. Hamilton will have it when we come back. It is still scoreless. Mike Gray, who is really making his presence felt in this, his first starting assignment for the BC Lions.
Well, kind of maybe a questionable call on 2nd and 7, or maybe they felt they could take BC by surprise here, but Michael Gray knifed through and made just an outstanding play to stop Johnny Shepard in the backfield.
Shepard was out most of 1984, as Al Bruno was telling me yesterday, with that hip injury, but he said, I've never seen a player come back as dedicated as he is. Unfortunately for him on that occasion, Mike Gray was equally dedicated. He was there to bring him down. So Bernie Ruoff is punting on 3rd and 6. Wobbly punt that comes to Darnell Clash at his 40. Again, it was low. The flag comes down as Darnell Clash gets inside the Hamilton 50 to the 48-yard line. We'll have to wait for the result of that penalty flag, but it was another terrific return of 22 yards by a BC punt returner.
Well, let's see if we can pick out the infraction. Probably clipping or holding, usually the case on the punt returns, but BC obviously feels that they can get their punt returner to the outside. As twice in a row now they've set up that picket line to the wide side of the field.
Here's the call.
Illegal block, BC number 7. First down.
What that usually means, too, is somebody pushed somebody in the back with their hands.
The call was against Bernie Gleer, number 7. And so instead of being in Hamilton territory, the Lions will begin now at their 46-yard line. But Bernie Ruoff is going to have to get those punts a little higher because he's not giving the cover team sufficient time to get downfield. First down, British Columbia at their 46. And again, DeWalt is pressured and dropped. Rod Skillman was one of the people in there. Mike Walker was there too, but Mitchell Price from Livingston University, the 3-year defensive tackle for the Ticats, was there to bring him down.
Well, these four fellows on the defensive line have had a few years to work together now, and they really work their stunts well, and they come after that passer. Don Matthews, he's concerned because his quarterback, Roy DeWalt, is down on the playing field. Let's have a look one more time. Good pass rush coming in from 61. 65, Mitchell Price comes up with the play. Rod Skillman over the top to finish him off.
And the man down is quarterback Roy DeWalt.
You know, it's interesting, Pat, that DeWalt earned the starting role, as a matter of fact, in the '82 opener, and it was also against Hamilton when he replaced the injured quarterback Joe Pow at that time. If you recall that game, it was 201 yards, 4 touchdowns for DeWalt, and ever after that, he's been the first-string quarterback. Then, as we showed you off the top of the show, he had that injury that really wrecked the BC plans last year. Now it appears he's just shaken up a little bit, and he'll be all right as Tim Cowan goes in.
Well, that's good news because he injured his ankle in the first preseason game on the first play of that first preseason game, and I was concerned maybe he had re-injured it. Donnie Matthews obviously has got to be relieved. And last year, of course, against Toronto, it was a broken collarbone that sidelined him for the season. So now we'll see Tim Cowan. And what a situation he comes into, 2nd and 17. And he decides to go deep, but this one was very nearly picked off. Gerald Bess and Paul Bennett both went for the football, and as a result, they dislodged it. But you have got to be impressed with the defensive performance of the Hamilton Tiger Cats to this point.
A nice job by the secondary, Paul Bennett and Gerald Bess. They're laying back in the weeds. They know they've got a long way to go for that first down, and they both read the play well. I think Gerald Bess might have had the interception had Paul Bennett not tipped it away.
So Louis Pasaglia, who's been a busy man here in this opening quarter, will be back to punt again, standing inside his 25-yard line. Paul Bennett and Derek Peels are back to receive this. This is high, not particularly deep. And Peels takes it at the 40-yard line. A no-yards penalty will be assessed. And so when we come back, the Hamilton Ticats will have possession up around midfield. It is still scoreless, and we'll be back in a moment.
He got hit in the head, and he's got a bit of a headache. They've just given him an aspirin, but it is not, as you feared, Pat, the ankle. It was just, they thought for a moment maybe a slight concussion, but they don't think it's even that, so he's okay. He should be back in the ball game very shortly.
Well, thank you, Bill, and I would think if he is all right, there's no question that he'll be back because Donnie Matthews was saying he's a one-quarterback coach. He said, I believe in making one guy the number one, and if he can play, he's going to play all the games. Right now, the Hamilton Ticats start from their 54-yard line. Jeff Tedford going deep, looking for Steve Stapler, overthrows him. Wendell Williams was step for step with the wide receiver of the Ticats. So Tedford at least showed the Lions defense that he's got an arm that can put the ball deep. Unfortunately, it was too deep.
Well, Pat, in the exhibition season, he was 22 of 29 passing. Now, in 4 games, that's not a great deal of attempts, but he did have some success when he was in the game. And obviously, Al Bruno felt so because he's the starter for the opening of the season.
Number 69, first down repeated.
Well, the penalty was against the Hamilton Ticats, Terry Lirenko. You may remember that he was a draft choice of the Ticats a few years ago. He's a Canadian boy who went to the University of Cincinnati and opted to sign with the Cincinnati Bengals. He's back home now. And this is Derek Peels. Peels picks up about 2 or 3 yards to about the 42-yard line before Keith Gooch, number 18, was there to bring him down. And just a reminder that some old friends will be kicking off their football season tomorrow. Joe Moss and his Ottawa Rough Riders will be facing Jack Goda and Georgie Brancato and all the rest of those Saskatchewan Rough Riders. And we will have it for you here on CTV starting at 3:30 Eastern Time. Tedford throw again, looking for Stapler, is broken up neatly by Wendell Williams, a fellow who's been around the Canadian Football League without ever playing. He was with Don Matthews in Edmonton, and then Donnie brought him to BC, but he couldn't crack the lineup until this year, and now he finds himself playing on the corner.
Well, actually, this is his first regular season game ever, Pat, having been associated in the Canadian Football League for 4 years, and twice in a row on this series. He's being tested by Jeff Tedford and made some excellent plays.
So the Ticats couldn't move the ball.
Shows you how long those 21-day trials can last.
4 years of this. This is a much better punt by Ruoff. He sends it deep to Jim Sandusky at the 9. And you'll notice this time the cover team did a much better job for the Ticats because they had an opportunity to get down there. And Sandusky, with a good return of 11 yards, was contained at the 20.
Roy DeWalt will not be coming in on this series. They're going to keep him out for one series. Tim Cowan will work this one, and then I'm told DeWalt will come in for the next one.
So Tim Cowan gets an opportunity now. He completed 51% of his passes last year, had 13 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, and let's see if he's of a mind right now to put it up, despite the fact that he's deep in the BC part of the field at the 20-yard line. He swings it out to Keith Van Jenkins. And Jenkins gets to about the 26-yard line for a pickup of 6 before he's forced out by Gerald Best, the cornerback on that side.
A lot of people may think, oh, he's just dumping the ball off to his running back, but really this is a swing screen where they get the blockers out in front. Mervyn Fernandez is downfield trying to put a block on Gerald Best, but that's a controlled screen pass that they have in their offense.
So it'll be second down, 4 yards to go. BC, the ball at their 26. Cowan throws over the middle looking for Ron Robinson. He couldn't squeeze it at the 40-yard line.
You know, the interesting thing about this BC club, and I'm sure some Lions fans will be wondering, is the fact that during the exhibitions they were running the ball most of the time. So I asked Don Matthews yesterday, I said, are you going to keep on running? He said, no, that was just for the exhibitions. He said, we're a passing team, and we will be passing most of the time once again. He says, what else can you do when you got the strongest arm quarterback in the league? He thinks, as a matter of fact, DeWalt throws the ball long better than anybody else in the CFL.
I don't know what answer Roy DeWalt gave the team doctor, but it was 2. He's not coming back the next series either.
Well, 2 and 3 is 2, isn't it?
Willie Pasaglia's punt is short and taken by Derek Peels. And again, we're going to have a no-yards penalty against the Lions. And field position is really now shifting over towards the Ticats. Only a 32-yard boot by Louis Pasaglia on that occasion. And with the no-yards penalty, the Ticats are going to find themselves in British Columbia territory.
Well, it's improved ever since Grover Covington snuffed out that fake field goal try by the BC Lions. And now is a perfect opportunity for Jeff Tedford to go to work.
Here's the call.
4 yards, BC number 7. First down.
Again, Bernie Gleer is called for no yards. Don Matthews is very confident about the ability of this team. He said, I'll tell you what I like most about it. We have excellent team speed, and in this league, if you don't have it, you can't win consistently.
I'll tell you what they got is excellent depth. They've got a lot of guys in their reserve that a lot of teams would like to have.
Tedford goes deep looking for Stapler. He's there. Touchdown! The former Toronto Argonaut and 6-year veteran of the Canadian Football League, Steve Stapler, puts Hamilton ahead.
Hamilton had really overshifted their receivers to the wide side. They got the matchup they wanted. Steve Stapler on the middle safety, Nelson Martin. He got in behind him, and oh, what a throw by Jeff Tedford.
Well, as we suggested to you, it's far from a sellout here at Ivor Wynn, but you can tell that the Ticat fans are pumped up. Bernie Ruoff's point after is good. And so surprise, I'm sure, to most people across Canada. The Hamilton Ticats, with just 1 minute and 22 seconds left to play in the opening quarter, have jumped out in front 7-0.
Well, Pat, it was a perfect situation for Jeff Tedford to begin. He finally got his team in field position in the BC territory, and now he doesn't have to worry about giving up an interception or a fumble like it's really going to hurt them. He can just relax and use pretty near any play in their offense, and he chose to go deep, and gosh, that was just a great throw.
You know, when we talk so much about the Hamilton defensive alignment, Bess has 5 years, Streeter 4 years, Bennett 9, Howard Fields 5. That's a defensive secondary with lots of CFL experience. And that's why they're capable of providing that good secondary coverage, plus the fact they've got so much experience in their front seven.
Well, listen, it's no secret. In any football league, if you've got good defense, you've got a chance to be in any game.
Bernie Ruoff with the kickoff. Darnell Clash at the goal line. Who are they fired up?
Are we looking at shades of that opener between Montreal and Winnipeg?
Well, who knows, because that was a terrific football game for the Concords. And congratulations to Joe Galat, his offensive unit, but primarily his defensive unit, because I thought they were just outstanding, and it was great to see Turner Gill really show what that 1 year's experience has done for him.
Oh, that defense played so well in the third quarter when it was really crucial. They hung in tough, and then they got the break they needed on the special teams with that block punt touchdown.
You know, Joe Galat started, they didn't even have a football 4 years ago. Look what he's built there now. Tim Cowan's pass is caught. Mervyn Fernandez gets the first down out over the 25 to about the 28-yard line.
Talking about Joe Galat just a little further, it's interesting that Don Matthews said yesterday, half kiddingly, he said, look, says the way those Concords played against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, if they keep that up, he says, I'm going to start dressing like Galat, putting on the good blazer, the tie, everything.
They're both about they're both very thin now. I noticed that Joe has lost about 30 pounds. I must find out the diet. First down, BC at their 28-yard line. And on the draw, this is Kevan Jenkins. And a flag comes down. We'll likely have a face masking call here at the 42-yard line.
Let's see if we can get a look at the block by John Henry White, number 20. There he is, right in the middle of your picture. Takes out the middle linebacker. That opens up the hole for Kevan Jenkins. There's the face masking penalty on Paul Bennett. Another 15 yards. That turns into a big game.
Face mask, Hamilton, number 27. First down.
Well, as Leif pointed out, number 27 is Paul Bennett. And so now the British Columbia Lions, under the guidance of Tim Cowan, have a first down at the 52-yard line of the Ticats. Cowan throws, looking for Sandusky, broken up neatly by Gerald Bess. Boy, they're really going to Bess's side tonight, but he has been strong on every occasion.
Well, I don't think they're really trying to pick on Gerald Bess because he was the leader in interceptions in the CFL last year, but they're running a quick out. He sees the quarterback in trouble, so he just tries to take it upfield, and Gerald Bess, 5-year pro, just stays right with him, does a great job. Have another look. You'll see Tim Cowan wave him to go upfield. He says, go upfield, I'm in trouble, and they just can't make it work.
Tim Cowan from the University of Washington just delivers the ball as he took a hit, gets it off to Kevan Jenkins, and the speed of Jenkins gets him inside the 40 to the 38-yard line before Ben Zambiazzi and Gerald Bess bring him down as the first quarter comes to an end. Tim Cowan showed you the courage that he has. He waited till the last moment, got the ball off to Kevan Jenkins, and all of a sudden the BC Lions are in a position to possibly tie this game when we come back in the second quarter. Right now, at the end of 15 minutes of play, it is Hamilton 7, BC nothing.
When you're out there calling balls and strikes, you have to have the eyes of an eagle because you really can't afford to miss a thing, which is why I was one of the first to notice that Miller Lite is brewed right here in Canada. I really do like light. It tastes great and it tastes less filling. As I'm always telling the guys on the diamond, if you want to get anything by me, you've got to get up pretty early.
Light beer from Miller, now brewed in Canada. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
Until you try Gillette's new Foamy Smooth for sensitive skin, enriched with skin lubricants, you're missing out on the smoothest foamy shave ever. Foamy Smooth lets your razor glide across your face, so you get a close shave with exceptional comfort. New Gillette Foamy Smooth for sensitive skin. The smoothest foamy ever.
Does this look familiar? Now you don't have to stand for trash bags that fall down. Announcing Tidy Up, the handiest helper you've ever seen. Tidy Up holds the garbage bag. You just fill it. Now cleanup's fast and easy. Get one for the garden, the workshop, the laundry, and don't forget the garage. Tidy Up goes camping, too. With Tidy Up, it's in the bag because your hands are free to do the work. Remember, without Tidy Up, your bag doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Tidy Up is now offered at the special introductory price of just $4.99. Get yours at Early Bird, Woodward's, or Super Save Gas.
As we start the second quarter, the screen pass goes to John Henry White. And John Henry picks up another first down inside the 25 before he's brought down by Paul Bennett. Leo Ezrin's number 72 was over there to help on the play as well. The pickup is 14 yards. Good fake by Tim Cowan. Fake the handoff to Kevan Jenkins and then threw the screen to John Henry White.
Well, it's the third time in this first half they've thrown the screen pass, and must be those Hamilton linebackers dropping deep as Tim Cowan's seen this and trying to take advantage of it. Cowan goes deep, wide open as John Pankratz for the touchdown. Oh, that was an easy one. A mix-up in the coverage in that defensive secondary. Howard Fields fell down. As simple as that. Pankratz running a post-corner pattern on him, and Howard Fields got tangled up and made that 23-yard touchdown catch look pretty easy, but Tim Cowan still had to deliver the football. Nice throw.
23 yards, the touchdown pass from Tim Cowan to John Pankratz. And now, as Louis Pasaglia lines up this point after, we could be looking at a tie ball game and likely will be. It's good. So with just 53 seconds played in this second quarter, the BC Lions strike, and they strike quickly to tie it up at 7 points apiece.
Well, I said Howard Fields fell down, but it was such a great move by John Pankratz that Fields just got his feet all tangled up and couldn't turn around and make the plays. But there are the Chevy first quarter stats. You see the BC Lions well ahead in first downs, but really that doesn't make any difference because we've got a tie ball game after that touchdown reception by John Pankratz.
Bill mentioned that we had quite a rainstorm here in southern Ontario this afternoon, but it's cleared up. It's a very pleasant evening to watch a football game.
Well, it's a beautiful night to play for the players. I don't know what the temperature is, but it's certainly not warm by any means. And
it's perfect, and there are a few dark, forbidding or foreboding clouds off to the back of you gentlemen in the broadcast booth. And the weatherman says we might get a few showers, but we won't get any of the heavy thunder or lightning storm that we had this afternoon, and that is good news.
Pasaglia kicked it short. And Steve Kearns was there to bring it down for the Hamilton Ticats at about the 46-yard line.
Well, that's a really heads-up play. They were definitely going for the onside kick. Steve Kearns comes up with the play, and just might mention for all you Rufus Crawford fans across the country, the reason why he is not in the lineup tonight, he's had arthroscopic surgery on his knee last week. They had to remove some bone chips, and hopefully in the next 2 or 3 games he'll be back in the lineup, but that's his stats to this point.
Wayne Lee, the Ottawa native, is in the lineup, number 17, playing in that slot position as Tedford is brought down at about the 45-yard line by Mike Gray. Boy, we've mentioned Mike Gray's name a lot so far this evening. The University of Oregon rookie, really, to the CFL, despite the fact that he's been with Seattle on tryouts a couple of times, is really making his presence felt.
Well, of course, we have our Carling O'Keefe Game Stars coming up, and defensively, his name will certainly be watched for in the second half, but great first half performance.
And if you're a PhD, we're going to allow you to vote because we've got about 600 numbers to put up for you. This is Johnny Shepard. Shepard crosses the 50 to about the 52. He'll be well short of the first down.
Pat, you were talking about the fact that you need to be a PhD. Well, the fellow that Gray beat out for the spot was Fred Worthy, who just happens to have a master's degree, and by the way, was a decathlete and was on the U.S. Olympic team that did not go to Moscow. He made the team, and that's the one that didn't go to Russia as they boycotted it. But it shows you the depth of this BC club when they've got a fellow like Fred Worthy at home. And as far as the coach was concerned, he said it was nip and tuck who was going to win the spot.
Well, you're right, Bill. They have an American, Eric Emery, who's a backup linebacker, and they're not even starting him, so they're playing an extra Canadian.
This is Jim Sandusky from the 23-yard line. And Sandusky is pulled down by number 51, Pat Brady, as he crossed the 30 to about the 31-yard line. We're all tied at 7 points apiece. We'll be back in a moment.
This is my car. It takes a big chunk out of my paycheck every month. So I want
this car to last. That's why I use Quaker State. It's especially
blended motor oil, made to help my car last for a long, long time. And a long, long time.
how long I intend to keep my wheels. Because to tell you the truth,
a long, long time is how long it's going to take me to pay it off. Quaker State helps cars last.
Take a good look at the new Safari. It sells itself.
Safari offers you room to bloom and the most powerful V6 in its class. 4 seats up to 8 in divine comfort. So, it should be no surprise that Safari is just for you. The new GMC Safari. It's more than magic.
Roy DeWalt is up and walking about, and now he is talking with the coaching staff, the offensive coordinator, and he's going to be ready to go into the ball game. Although you have to think, if you're a head coach, Leaf, and the way Tim Cowan moved his club, do you put your first-string quarterback in? I guess you do, but it's a nice quandary to be in, I would say. Wouldn't you?
Well, yeah, sure would, and I'd leave Tim Cowan in and let him do the job. He just took them down for a touchdown. Leave him in there for a while.
He's completed 5 out of his 8 pass attempts so far this evening. Starts from the 31-yard line, airs it out, and it is complete to Sandusky at the 46-yard line, and then we get a flag down. This may be a spearing penalty because they're going to be very alert to that in 1985.
You're absolutely right, Pat. We had a meeting with the referee-in-chief this year, Don Barker, and he said this is one of the things they're going to try and get away from in the Canadian Football League.
Spearing, Hamilton, number 14. First down.
Well, there it is, the call against Gerald Bess, and very quickly the BC Lions are in Hamilton territory.
Well, there you see it. Gerald Bess stuck that helmet in there, and they're going to call that, and I think it's a great idea.
The ball at the Hamilton 49-yard line. Cowan's throw is complete to Fernandez, but he was hit immediately by Les Brown, the cornerback, number 15. This is his second year with the Ticats, and he is shaken up on the play. Les Brown came to the Ticats last year from Colorado State. He was on Mervyn Fernandez immediately, but obviously has a bit of the wind knocked out of him right now. Fernandez so far this evening has caught 4 passes for 45 yards. Now, the 4 receptions are good, but I think it's noteworthy that the Ticats have been able to contain him to just about, 10, 11 yards a catch.
Well, they've done a good job. The idea with Mervyn Fernandez is to keep him in front of you. Here's the hit by Les Brown, and it probably occurs when he falls on the ground, and Fernandez on top of him. But, you talk about the great receivers around the league, and the first ones that come to mind, Terry Greer, Brian Kelly. How about them last night? Terry Greer, 8 catches, Brian Kelly, 7 catches, so no rust developed on them in the offseason, that's for sure.
I would have to think, gentlemen, that if there's going to be any club that relies on the run, it's going to be Hamilton until their quarterbacks really gain some maturity. That's the reason, of course, that Mark Braganole is gone, and as a result, they have got in Braganole's place Peels, running back at the fullback with Shepard.
All right,
we'll be back with more football in a moment.
Exciting, thrilling, daring. Water slides like you've never seen before. Cultus Lake Water Park, the newest innovative design this side of California. Challenge the breathtaking 72-foot free fall and speed slide, the first in Canada. Bring the whole family, ride the Spiral River Run, soak in the whirlpool. Kids love the water playground. Experience the water thrills, the video arcade. Come for a picnic or barbecue. Enjoy night sliding Friday and Saturday nights for adults. Cultus Lake Water Park.
Furniture Liquidators, we're Furniture Liquidators.
Who's got the lowest price around? Who's got the latest styles in town?
Who makes the competition nervous?
Direct factory purchases, huge buying power, low operating expenses. Yes, we sell the same furniture as other stores, but at far below, and I mean far below regular retail prices.
You United Buy and Sell Service.
Well, with the injury to cornerback Les Brown, Howard Fields, number 16, will move to the outside, and Terry Lane, number 37, will come in and play that inside position for the Ticats in that defensive secondary as BC comes up over the ball, facing a 2nd and 5 situation at the Hamilton 43.5-yard line. Cowan throws quickly to Mervyn Fernandez. He has the first down. Fields forces him out at the 32-yard line, but the Lions are on the move after the Hamilton club did a good job of containing them in that first quarter.
Well, Tim Cowan's a smart quarterback. He sees that switch right away and takes full advantage. Only needs 5 yards. I'm going to go right on Howard Fields, who's just had to move out to the corner. He's now 8 for 11 since he's come in to replace Roy DeWalt, and just doing an excellent job directing this offense.
First down, BC at the Hamilton 31. DeWalt's pass, it's good to Sandusky. Good move. And Sandusky fights his way down to the 1-yard line. Gerald Best makes the tackle, but it was Gerald Best that he took right out of his shoes with that fake that was good for 30 yards. Let's take a look at the fine move by Jim Sandusky.
Well, obviously, he and Tim Cowan have had a chance to practice a lot together because this ball is in the air before he makes his break. Watch the deke right here. Gerald Best cannot even get a hand on him. And the extra effort to try and get into the end zone, 30 yards, and they're knocking at the door.
So the BC Lions spotted Hamilton a 7-0 lead, but right now they are 1 yard away from taking the lead themselves. They give us to John Henry White. He's in for the touchdown. John Henry White, who's been a member of the British Columbia Lions since 1978, out of Louisiana Tech University, goes the final yard as we take a look at him here close up.
Well, nothing fancy about this. Straight dive play, and the offensive line of the BC Lions enables John Henry White to get into the end zone. There's a good look at it. Number 52, Al Wilson, the veteran, 200th game tonight, paving the way for that touchdown.
He's not only been a terrific football player, but he's a great guy, too. The point after by Lee Pasaglia is good, and the BC Lions are out in front of the Hamilton Ticats 14-7. And now as the BC Lions prepare to kick off, I want to mention their coach, their special teams coach, Roy Shivers, suffered the loss of his mother who died in Oakland recently. We want to extend our sympathies to Roy, and also mention that Bob Vespasiani, who moved over to the Lions this year from the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, has taken over most of his responsibilities while Roy has been away. And obviously he's done the same good job that Roy Shivers has done over the years with this BC special team.
A nice chat with Bob tonight before the ball game. Said he was feeling a little guilty about moving out to Vancouver because just the day the moving vans came, he had to leave and leave his wife with all the duties to do that, but he said he didn't mind.
I'll bet he felt guilty.
Yeah.
This is Johnny Shepard from the 1 yard line. That's Howard Fields, not Johnny Shepard. They replaced Shepard with Fields on that kickoff return team, and he takes it all the way to the 50-yard line. A 50-yard kickoff return by Howard Fields. And that's the kind of play you need to get you pumped up after surrendering that lead.
Oh, yeah, that's nothing better than a big play on special teams, and Howard Fields provides that. He's done that throughout his whole career with Hamilton. Good kickoff and punt return man.
So the Ticats begin just outside their 50-yard line. Tedford's pass over the middle is complete to Wayne Lee, and he's wrapped up immediately by Tyrone Cruz, their middle linebacker, number 91.
Pat, the story on the injured defensive back of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, Les Brown, is that he injured his left shoulder. They put some pads on it, some extra padding, and he'll be going back in on the next defensive series.
Thank you, Bill. As the Hamilton Ticats picked up only 3 yards on the reception by the University of Ottawa graduate Wayne Lee, so make it 2nd and 7. Tedford in a hurry throws. The pass is complete to Rocky DiPietro, who did a terrific job to hang on to the ball because he took quite a hit from Nelson Martin. Now he appears to be about a half yard short of that first down marker. But the Ticats are going to be in a mood to go for it. Saskatchewan at Toronto. That defensive unit of the Saskatchewan Roughriders, they tell me, has played very well in the preseason. The question is, can they get some offense to go along with it? We'll find out next Friday night as the CFL on CTV presents our regular Friday night football, and we'll all be there to bring it to you, 7:30 Eastern Time. So it is. It's third down and about a half a yard to go. The Ticats will go for it. The ball just inside the British Columbia 50-yard line. Tedford keeps it himself, and I don't know, because he never really got any surge.
Pat, it just depends on the spot, but I don't think he got it. Boy, it didn't seem like he went forward at all.
It just seemed like they pushed the center right back into him.
No, they didn't get it. They don't even need to measure that one.
They're going to bring the sticks up, but there's no chance it's a first down. Be nice to see that one and just see what did happen on that play. You can see they're short of the first down. See if we can bring that one back to you. Here it is.
Well, what happens, the center, Marv Alamang, just got pushed back. He never got that surge, and Jeff Tedford was following him and counting on at least 6 inches or a foot and never got it. He got jammed up by Michael Gray and Rick Klassen in there.
That's a great job by that BC Lion defense, and so they take over at their 49.5-yard line. On the draw, Kevan Jenkins gets over the 50 to about the 52. But he's wrapped up at that point by number 59, Rod Skillman, and Ben Zambiazzi was in there as well. So give Kevan Jenkins, the graduate of Nevada, Las Vegas, a couple of yards and make it 2nd and 8. British Columbia out in front of Hamilton 14-7 with 8:40 left to play in this first half. Cowan's pass complete to Sandusky inside the Hamilton 50 at the 46-yard line. Les Brown, who's back in the ball game, was there to make sure that he didn't go any further. The pickup is 12 yards on the pass from Cowan to Sandusky.
Well, they run John Pankratz in the flat, and then a quick post by Jim Sandusky, and Les Brown can't close the distance. Nice controlled pass to keep the drive going.
First down, British Columbia at the Hamilton 47. Cowan looking for Fernandez. He makes the catch, and they roll out of bounds. Ooh, that was close.
Well, I'd like to see that. If we could have a look at that again, because it sure looked like a pretty good reception to me. Urban Fernandez doesn't agree either. Here we go. This should give us a good look from the end zone camera. Mervyn Fernandez working on Les Brown down the sidelines. Definitely makes the catch. 1 foot. Yeah, that should be a catch. That's all you need, 1 foot in.
By the way, gentlemen, Roy DeWall just asked me if I'd say hello to Angie, his wife in Vancouver, and say, Angie, I'm fine. So don't worry one little bit. He's ready to go in if they need him.
Roy's fine, and so is Ken Cowan. He's completed 8 of his last 9 passes, making 9 out of 10 because he hits Kevan Jenkins, who bounced off. Ben Zambiazzi maintained his balance and got to the 36, but there is a flag on the play. And this one's going to come back, apparently.
Just a little delay over the middle to Kevan Jenkins, but it really does not matter. Nice effort to pick up some extra yardage.
BC number 65. 2nd down repeated.
Well, the holding is against Gerald Roper, the left offensive guard. And so instead of a first down, it'll be 2nd and 20. BC back on their own side of midfield at the 53.5-yard line. 7.5 minutes left to play in this first half. Lions ahead by 7 points. Cowan with a good fake, and he overthrew the screen, John Henry White. It's a play that Leaf has mentioned they've used a couple of 3 times already in the ball game. Very well executed, except that Cowan didn't get the ball to John Henry.
Boy, a little screen pass like that, all you have to do is feather the ball in. He just threw it too hard.
Speaking of that, I'll never forget when I used to do the Ottawa Rough Rider games, and Russ Jackson was the quarterback for Ottawa. Bo Scott was the running back, and Russ used to throw those javelin shots that used to knock Bo right on his keister. They were coming so hard. Louis Pasaglia's punt to about the 15-yard line. And this is Derek Peels, who gets it back close to the 30, and that's where the Ticats will start when we come back. The BC Lions are out in front of the Hamilton Ticats 14-7. We'll return in a moment.
For 7 years, we shared the place kicking duties.
Yeah.
Hold it, Steve. I did the holding, Jack did the kicking.
Give me a hand.
Now we're sharing Miller Lite.
It's brewed right here in Canada.
We drink it because it tastes great.
No, we drink it because it tastes less filling.
Tastes great.
Tastes less filling.
Tastes great.
Hold it. Right there.
Hold it yourself.
Light beer from Miller, now brewed in Canada. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
The 1985 Chevy Cavalier is the car for the two of you. The one you demands his money's worth in comfort, features, and quality. The other you enjoys the performance of an electronic fuel-injected 4 or available multi-port injected V6 and GM's 5-year Future Guard warranty. Happily, the new Chevy Cavalier brings both of you together. No wonder it's GM's best-selling car.
It's the Chevy way to go.
Way to go, Chevy!
Way to go, Chevy!
Why don't you make a point of getting up early tomorrow, because you're going to see two terrific tennis players in the Wimbledon men's final. And you better have good eyesight, because can these guys ever serve the ball? Well, you're a tennis player, Leaf. Who do you like?
Well, I like Kevin Curran. He's on a roll. He's beaten John McEnroe, the #1 seed, the #3 seed. Jimmy Connors fell to him, so I think it's his tournament. I think the other fellow, Boris Becker, 17 years of age, just a little too young to win Wimbledon right now.
Well, I think you're wrong, Leaf. It is cool as a cucumber.
Well, Derek Peels took the handoff from another young fella, Jeff Tedford. Tedford isn't 17, he's 23, but he's having trouble getting this Hamilton offense in gear. 15 first downs for BC to this point, only 1 for the Ticats, and it's amazing that they're still in this football game, trailing by just 7 points. It's BC 14, Hamilton 7. Actually, there was a loss of a yard on the play, so make it 2nd and 11. The flag is down, and so is Tedford at the 25-yard line for a loss of another 3, depending on what the flag was about. Rick Klassen was there to bring him down, the defensive tackle number 90. Here's the call from referee Ross Perrier.
Holding, Hamilton, number 58. Declined, 3rd down.
58 is the left offensive tackle, Jason Riley, the 3-year veteran from the University of British Columbia. We saw him in the Vanier Cup. He was a great player in college, and he stepped in here now and is a starter with the Hamilton offensive
You know, in college, he was a defensive end, so he's made the transition to the offensive line. It's not an easy one.
So Bernie Ruoff stands at the Hamilton 10-yard line to punt on 3rd and 15. And this will be Darnell Clash from his 50-yard line. And he ducked under a few before he took a hit right in the back as he crossed midfield at the 53-yard line. But again, the BC Lions are going to be in super field shape. A 36-yard boot by Ruoff into the wind. And a good 7-yard return by Darnell Clash.
A couple of raindrops are coming down to greet us, gentlemen. I know that doesn't bother you sitting up there in the safety of the air-conditioned booth. But down here, it can get a little damp, but we just have a couple now.
Bill, we're in Hamilton. Nothing is air-conditioned in Hamilton.
Didn't Harold Ballard fix that?
This is Kevan Jenkins. Jenkins got some good move in addition to his speed. Ben Zambiazzi brought him down at about the 39-yard line, but that's another BC first down.
Well, Pat, it's quite simple with the BC philosophy's been here in the first half. They either go deep to Fernandez, throw those hooks, or they dump the ball off to the running backs via the screen route or just the swing pass, because they've seen Hamilton's linebackers dropping deep. If they do that, give it to your back and let them run for those first downs.
Again, the handoff is to Jenkins. He gets to the 40, which is the line of scrimmage, and not an inch further. Good penetration there by Zambiazzi and Mitchell Price. Mike Walker was there, too. So make it 2nd and 10. As you take a look at Tim Cowan, who is in relief of the injured Roy DeWalt, Cowan has done just an excellent job and has directed the Lions to both of their touchdowns.
Come in.
Well, you can't take any more time than he did, because what you end up with is a fellow like Grover Covington right in your face. Covington, who's been around for 5 years at that defensive end spot for Hamilton, is there to drop him back at the 47-yard line.
Well, Pat, now Bob Reichelt, who is the trainer, tells me that Roy DeWalt did have a just slight concussion, and that while he seems to be fine, that they just don't want to take any chances, and so it's very doubtful that he'll come back in this half, possibly the second half, but if they can keep him out for the full ball game, they probably will.
Boy, Pat, you and I walked out in the field before the ball game, and we saw this guy throwing a football. We said, who's that linebacker that can really throw? Because Roy DeWalt's been on the weights in the offseason. Boy, did he look big.
Saglia's punt will be fielded by Paul Bennett at the 11-yard line. And Bennett gets it out over the 15 to about the 17. Brought down by Bruce Barnett.
He's a first-round draft choice from UBC, who they're very high on. He's a backup defensive back. He's the special teams very well, and Donnie Matthews feels very fortunate to have been able to obtain him in the first round.
Well, there's always something happening on either sideline. Communications to the roof. And right now, the Lions, with 3 minutes and 35 seconds, would like to be able to contain the Hamilton offense as they have this entire first half. Ticats are actually going to start inside their 10 at about the 9-yard line. There's a mix-up in the backfield. The ball comes loose, and the Lions have recovered at the 5-yard line. Well, let's take a look and see exactly the mix-up that took place between the quarterback, Jeff Tedford, and his running back, Johnny Shepard.
Now, real problem there, just never complete the handoff. Number 91, Tyrone Cruz, makes the fumble recovery, and well, I was just thinking to myself, if Hamilton can get out of this first half only 7 points down with the lack of offense, they'll be in great shape, and then they go and commit the turnover.
Well, the other thing that Al Bruno is going to be concerned about is he's got 2 Americans in those backfield positions in Shepard and Peels, and they haven't been able to run an inch tonight. Cowan's pass is good for the touchdown to Ron Robinson. And again, that looked oh so easy. Ron Robinson scores the touchdown to give the BC Lions a 20-7 lead, with the convert to come from Louis Pasaglia, and let's watch.
Well, you're right, Pat. This really did look easy. One-on-one coverage, Ron Robinson against number 20, Mark Streeter. He just pushes it to the outside, and gosh, that's a lot of separation for down the goal line.
Ron Robinson has been around the CFL. He's been with Saskatchewan. He's been with Montreal.
Started originally with Calgary.
And Louis Pasaglia's point after, as usual, is good, and so the Lions have now jumped out to a 21-7 lead with 2:59 left to play in the first half, and we'll be back in a moment.
Cindy Lauper, Sheena Easton, Bonnie Tyler, Juice Newton, Denise Williams, Irene Carroll, Melissa Manchester, Laura Brannigan.
Together, they create The Heart of Rock, a sensational new album featuring Academy Award nominee. Challenging the status quo. The women of rock can do it all. Shannon, Tracy Ullman, Sherry Keane. They are The Heart of Rock, a hot new album. Together they pursued a dream. Smashed all traditional barriers and made the dream happen. With tenacity, talent, and pure guts, they carved a permanent place in the heart of rock. The Heart of Rock, an album with a difference. The Heart of Rock from Quality Records. It's in stores now.
Well, it was only 5 yards after the recovery by Tyrone Cruz of that fumble between Jeff Tedford and John Shepard, and one play later, the touchdown pass to Ron Robinson. And that's the way it stands right now with 2:59 left to play in the first half. BC 21, Hamilton 7, as Louis Pasaglia prepares to kick it off. This will be Derek Peels from his 6-yard line. Peels gets to about the 29 for a return of 23 yards. But now the onus is on the Hamilton offense, which not unexpectedly has not performed well tonight.
Pat, Tim Cowan is the fellow you've been talking about throughout this first half. So we're going to let him do some of the talking, and right at the halftime gun, we're going to talk to him for a couple of minutes.
Well, he certainly had a big half. There's no question about that. Coming on in relief of Boyd DeWalt. Tedford swings it out to Derek Peels. And Peels gets to the 36-yard line for a pickup of about 6 yards. And the one thing, of course, that Hamilton doesn't want to do now, it's bad enough being down 14, but you don't want to turn the ball over with 2:46 left to play in the half. We've got an injured BC Lion on the field, and it affords me an opportunity to mention that the Ottawa Rough Riders 1960 Grey Cup team is having a reunion in the Capitol, but there are 4 members of that team that they can't locate. So if anybody knows where Jim Reynolds, John Jelassic, Freddie Robinson, or Kurt Mers are located, the Ottawa Football Club would love to hear from you.
Well, that's what you call teamwork, isn't it? With Ray out there, Ray Jones, the trainer for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, out helping.
Well, he's a great trainer, and I'm sure anytime a player's injured, trainer on both sides would like to help if they can. Donnie Matthews, he's concerned because he doesn't like to lose a player, not early in the season. Kevin Konar, the man they're attending to, an outstanding linebacker for the BC Lions. You know, their depth is just amazing. I mentioned earlier Eric Emery, a rookie linebacker from Cal State Fullerton, who's on their team, and he just can't get in the lineup. But what depth to be able to have an American as a backup. And, of course, with Kevin Konar and Glenn Jackson playing those outside spots, tough to beat those two out.
You know, Leaf, the one area the CFL has improved in tremendously, I know they have in players and everything else, but certainly in trainers. They really have competent trainers across the CFL in all 9 clubs.
Well, they sure do, Bill. I couldn't agree with you. They do a great job. Guys like Ray Jones, Freddie Dunbar in Toronto, they get those guys ready to play in a hurry.
Tedford is dropped by Mike Gray. The moment that he put his arm in the air, that was the cue for Gray to just deck him.
Well, you might know that Mike Gray would be persistent. His route to the CFL has taken him through a lot of training camps, and he didn't pass up this opportunity. Beat out a few guys in training camp, getting a chance to start his 2nd sack of the first half, and just having a great ball game. Mike Gray grew up in Baltimore before going to the University of Oregon, and Jeff Tedford wishes he was back there because he really gave him a ride. So Bernie Ruoff will be punting with 2:15 left to play in the half, and the Lions should have pretty good field position again. Darnell Clash takes it at his 43, trying to get to the outside, and spins his way to the 50. Where again, Tim Cowan and that offensive unit comes out.
That's Kevin Konar now, who is the player on the bench. And the trainer is, of course, Bob Reichelt of the BC Lions looking over him, but it is a bruised knee, just on the side of the knee, a slight bruise. He's up and walking, as you can see, and so obviously he's not badly hurt.
Thank you, Bill. First down, BC. The ball just inside their 50-yard line. Cowan dumps it off to Kevan Jenkins, and he runs right into Ben Zambiazzi the moment that he catches the ball. And so his pickup is limited to about 4 yards. Zambiazzi has been very active out there tonight. As a matter of fact, the most active of all of the Hamilton linebackers. The front 4, generally speaking, has done a pretty good job. They've certainly contained the run well, although they haven't put all that much heat on Tim Cowan.
Well, we had a nice chat with Ben yesterday afternoon. He said, listen, our defense is all right. If we can just hang in and finally get some offense, we might win a few ball games, that's for sure.
Pass is complete up to the 50-yard line to Ron Robinson. And he's such a big target at 6'4", 215 pounds. He was finally wrestled by Howard Fields to a momentary standstill at the 50, but that's enough for a first down with 1:37 left to play in this half.
Well, what I like about Tim Cowan, he's really moved it around. Ronnie Robinson, I think that's his 3rd catch, and Sandusky's got his share. Pankratz a touchdown. Fernandez has really spread it around, keep everybody active.
Cowan throws, finds Sandusky. Jim Sandusky coughs up the ball, but it's recovered by the BC Lions for a touchdown. Kevan Jenkins recovered the ball that Jim Sandusky had fumbled when he was hit at the 1-yard line, and the touchdown will count. Terrific pass from Cowan to Jim Sandusky, a great run, and then some alert play by Kevan Jenkins. Watch this one.
Well, he just turns Gerald Best inside out on a 49-yard pass and run play. They finally catch up with him down at the goal line, fumbled into the end zone. Watch the alert, Kevan Jenkins. Well, we don't see it, but he picked up the fumble, and BC Lions have moved out ahead now, 28-7 with that conversion.
And that was the thing that the Hamilton Ticats had to be leery of. Just moments ago, they were right in this football game at 14-7. But then Tyrone Cruz recovered a fumble at the Hamilton 5, and one play later they went in, and now you see Jim Sandusky with a brilliant run, fumbles the ball at the 1-yard line, but Kevan Jenkins, number 23, is there to fall on it and score yet another touchdown for the BC Lions.
Jim Sandusky's had a pretty good first half. I'd like to check with our statistician, Bob Layton, and see how many catches he has had.
5 for 114 yards.
Well, he was their leading receiver in the preseason and carrying on that way here in that first half.
Sandusky's not a big man at 5'9" and 172, but he's got the good hands and good speed. Not great speed, but good speed. Derek Peels with the kickoff return for the Ticats to the 28-yard line. It doesn't matter how good your defense is. If you cannot move the ball, it's inevitable that the roof is going to fall in on you, and Al Bruno is well aware of that. I would also think he'd be somewhat disappointed in the fact that with the two import running backs, Johnny Shepard and Derek Peels, he hasn't been able to gain any yardage at all rushing the football.
Well, they tried a couple of times on second and long situations. They went to that running game, and BC did such a good job defensively, they've had to throw the football now.
Well, they completed out to about the 35-yard line. The catch was made by Scott Colley, the 3-year veteran from Brigham Young University, who went high in the air to grab it. But he'll be short of the first down at the 36. He's short by about a yard.
Well, we have coming up at halftime, as I told you, I'll be talking with Tim Cowan. Then we have the CFL this week with Dan Matheson and his personal up-close with a member that is Gray, as a matter of fact, a newcomer, a rookie with BC, and then Leafs highlights.
Johnny Shepard is looking to get the first down, but he's nailed back at the line of scrimmage at about the 34-yard line. I would think that the Hamilton fans are going to get a little bit upset in just a few moments because they have picked up but one first down in this entire first half of the ball game.
Well, especially when you find yourself in a second and short situation, you expect every time of Johnny Shepard, a man of his talent in the backfield, to be able to pick that up. He just didn't have the blocking on that occasion, and these fans in Hamilton will get pretty vocal. They'll let you know how they feel.
19-1 in first downs, 28-7 is the score, BC leading. Darnell Clash at his 30-yard line. That was a long boot by Bernie Ruoff. It was long and it was high, and as a result, the Lions take over at their 34, which is their worst field position in this quarter. Well, they've struck quickly when they've had the opportunity. Now they've got 23 seconds left. Let's see if they elect to just play it conservatively, or will Cowan go for more? Donnie Matthews is the kind of coach that loves to score, so I'd be surprised if they just sat on the ball, but let's watch it. Well, as a matter of fact, they're going to.
Let me tell you, Pat, Don Matthews.
Excuse me, I just wanted to say that was John Henry White who carried the ball, Bill.
Yeah, I was going to say that Don Matthews just turned to me, and he was delighted with the way they've been racking up points. That's what he wanted to see his offense do, if they could put points on the board, and he feels they're doing it against one of the better defenses in the league.
Going to be a great game in BC Place next Saturday night at 7 o'clock when the Edmonton Eskimos, Jackie Parker has to be delighted at their performance against the Toronto Argonauts last night when they won it late in the ball game, 25-23. That was a terrific ball game. This is Kevan Jenkins, and he has no place to go as he was tripped up by number 65, Mitchell Price, on the final play of the first half. The BC Lions, as impressive as everyone expected them to be, they are out in front of the Hamilton Tiger Cats 28-7. Bill?
Well, the situation as we go now, I'll have a talk with Tim Cowan. If we can grab Tim, will you, for me, before he runs off the field? Tim, as a matter of fact, was heading out to the dressing room, and I'm just waiting for him to come back, and I think that they're going to grab him and send him back to me as we will talk about this opening half of football, and here comes Tim. It's a little difficult when you're on the field, but as the situation occurs and you take over, as Tim has done for the injured quarterback Roy DeWalt, and he has done a tremendous job. We can get Tim through the band here. Terrific. Tim, you had more trouble getting through the band than you have getting through the defensive line of the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Well, I'm just trying to do everything I can right. Things are going pretty good out there. We're executing our offense like we're supposed to, and we've got to continue to do that, and we're setting our goals high, and we've got to start from the day.
Let me ask you this, Tim. When you come in for an injured quarterback, such as you have done in this game, you haven't mentally prepared yourself to start. Does that become a problem? It's like a reliever in baseball.
It is like a reliever, but I'm trying to become a starter. I want to be a starter caliber, and I've got to prepare like one, and when I have a chance, I have to play like one, and that's how I got to do it.
What about the offense? You're a different style of quarterback. Do the offensive players have trouble adjusting to you when you come in like that?
No, everybody's been able to work with Roy and I just fine, and these guys are good people. They're able to work with anybody and get something going, and that's what we're trying to do.
Well, I'll tell you, Coach Tom Matthews is delighted the way the offense is rolling, and especially the passing game, which you didn't use too much in the exhibition.
Well, it's going okay, but we're only halfway done. We got a whole nother half.
Well, now tell me about the big passes you had out there. You had 3 touchdowns you're throwing for.
I'll tell you what, I've read the coverages, I stepped up in the pocket, and I've just thrown the ball. You saw one of those, and Sandusky made a great catch. I'm just trying to be a part of that offense.
Well, Sandusky has made 2 great catches.
Sandusky's playing excellent. So is everybody. We spread the ball around, get a lot of people involved. We usually play pretty well.
How does this BC Lion Club feel? This is your first league game. You've had another successful preseason. Everybody says, hey, look out for the Lions. How do you as players feel?
Well, we as players have a hell of a lot of respect for everybody else in the league. And this is my 3rd year, and by far this is the best attitude's ever been. The staff's been together now for 3 years, and I think we're starting to gel. We can't get too far ahead of ourselves, but we know what we want to do, and we're trying to do it, and that's the most important.
And you think you can win the West?
Well, we think we can. We think we can win the whole thing, but the first thing we got to do is win this.
Tim Cowan, thank you very much. The fine young quarterback who's come in and done a great job. We'll be back with our halftime show in just a moment.
To highlight for you. We start with the season opener Thursday night in Montreal. The Concords' Harry Skipper helped snap a tie with Winnipeg when he blocks the punt and Mark Hopkins grabs the ball in the end zone. The Concords were ahead to stay. Turnovers really hurt the Bombers. Tom Clements here stripped of the ball in their end of the field. Steve Raquet recovers for Montreal. And just moments later, Dwayne Wilson blasts in 34-18. The Concords beat the defending champions. Last night, it is Toronto at Edmonton, and there is lots of scoring early. Milson Jones breaks through. He's already scored 1 major, and this is another, a 49-yard romp to make it 14-6 Eskimos. The Argonauts come right back. Condredge Holloway wants to go up the middle to Terry Greer. The speedster will not be caught. A 65-yard score. And now it is late in the 4th quarter. The Argos are ahead. They appear to seal the win as Dennis Clay intercepts the ball. But Edmonton's Stuart Hill gets to Holloway. John Daly has himself a touchdown, falling on the football. The Argonauts have a last chance to tie, but Hank Olisic misses, and that's the ball game. Tomorrow on CTV, it's the 2 Rough Riders. Wednesday, the Stampeders play their first game of the season. They are in Montreal. Also coming up, on Thursday, the Tiger Cats are in Winnipeg. On Friday, Saskatchewan at Toronto, the CTV's Game of the Week. And on Saturday, Edmonton at BC. This is the CFL on CTV. I work this The front four of the BC Lions is a highly respected outfit.
And this year, there is a rookie starting in their midst. In fact, Mike Gray is the only rookie able to crack the Lions starting lineup this year, although he has been in their camp before, also in that of the Seattle Seahawks.
My first year coming out of University of Oregon, I went to Seahawks, and I went down to the last cut, made it to the last cut. Left there and came to BC, signed and come back the next year, and made it to that last cut, then got cut again, went back to Seattle, made it down to the last cut again, and then came back up to Vancouver, and that's where I'm at now.
The big difference for Mike this year was that the Lions finally had an opening at defensive tackle.
I came back knowing that they were going to bring a lot of guys in to fill that slot, and I felt as though I was the leading candidate, and I worked all off season preparing for that, and came in camp and had a pretty good camp and preseason.
The Lions' front four is one of the best in the league, and Mike has been able to fit right in.
My strength, I think I'm strong and quick, which helps me very much, being in good size, you know. Things I have to work on is just a matter of playing, getting the experience, really, basically. That's a thing. This is, you know, the more games you play, the more experience you become with the league, you know, and that's what I'm hoping to obtain. You know, playing beside Quick and Nick and those guys, I can't do nothing wrong out there. You know, they give me confidence, they give me tips, they tell me, you know, what
to stop it on third down. And of course, when we move into our highlight package, we're going to see some of those fine plays that the defense of Hamilton did make. And the first one is a sack by number 65, Mitchell Price, on quarterback Roy DeWalt. And this was the play, actually, that knocked Roy DeWalt out of the ballgame. I'm not so sure Hamilton did themselves a favor as Tim Cowan's come on and done such a great job in the first half.
Well, you know what you've got to say, though, Leaf, that the Hamilton Ticats were well prepared. They were pumped up for the game. And they started out very well. As a matter of fact, they jumped into a 7-0 lead, but from there it was downhill.
Well, they sure did, and it was Jeff Tedford finally getting some good field position to work with. His first couple of series starting deep in his own end, but now he's got some room as they took over inside BC territory, and he's looking to Steve Stapler, who has been a deep threat in the league for a number of years. That's a 49-yard touchdown pass, and Stapler makes a nice catch in behind Nelson Martin. Hamilton jumped out to an early 7-0 lead.
Well, they should put that one in the vault, because I'll tell you, that was their only big play offensively. Let's take a look now, because this was a big play by Jim Sandusky on the pass from Tim Cowan.
Well, Sandusky had a heck of a first half from San Diego State. 5 catches, 114 yards. Nice move on Gerald Best to get it down to the 1-yard line. On the next play, of course, John Henry White took it in for the score. At that point, it was 14-7 for BC, and they didn't let up one bit. Hamilton coughed up the ball deep in their own territory. Tyrone Cruz recovered it. On the next play, it was Tim Cowan to Ron Robinson for a really easy 5-yard touchdown pass.
Well, they've got so much talent that there's no question that BC is going to be a factor throughout this 1985 season. You've mentioned a number of times that they are so deep at virtually every position that they have.
Once again, on our final highlight, we've got Jim Sandusky turns Gerald Best inside out, makes the catch, but the real feature here is the nice running that he does after he catches the football, gets it deep down, fumbles on the 1-yard line. The ball will go in the end zone. Kevan Jenkins makes the recovery, and that's how it stood at halftime, with BC out in front, 28-7.
Well, of course, the situation quite simply was this. It was a 14-7 ball game with about 5 or 6 minutes left to play in that second quarter, and then the Lions really exploded. They capitalized on their opportunities. We're going to show you the first half statistical story of this ball game as we take a look at the Chevrolet halftime statistics. You can see 277 net yards for BC, only 52 for Hamilton. That's the story of the ball game, 28-7. But let's see now if the Ticats can mount anything offensively as we get set for this second half kickoff. Louis Pasaglia doesn't want to put it in the air, so he dribbles it down to Howard Fields at the 12. And Fields gets out over the 25 to the 28-yard line. And that's exactly where they will put the ball into play. Just want to remind you that at the conclusion of this ball game, we will have the Carling O'Keefe Game Stars. And a little later on, we're going to show you how you can become involved in the voting process. But the offensive and the defensive star of this ball game will be honored at the conclusion of it. Leaf?
Well, I'm maybe a little surprised that Al Bruno started again with Jeff Tedford in the second half. Really wasn't able to get a heck of a lot going, but decided he's my guy in this first game. I'm going to go with him.
Well, the pass was intended for Scott Colley, but he overthrew him on the sideline. Darnell Clash was over there to provide the defensive coverage along with Melvin Bird. And so it'll bring up a 2nd and 10.
Scott Colley was originally from Brigham Young University, came to the Ticats midway through 1983, had a productive last 8 games with them, and then last year in a preseason game in Toronto broke his leg, missed the entire 1984 season, but now is back in the starting lineup with Hamilton. And I wonder how many people across Canada can figure out who that fellow with the cap on.
How about Wayne Gretzky, the great one?
Oh, you knew he was here, Bill.
He's come over from Brantford, which is just a few miles to the west of Hamilton, sitting up in the stands, and he was converged on at halftime, of course, giving autographs, and he is such a great ambassador of the sport of hockey. He just autographed everybody. He stayed there, didn't go for a hot dog or anything, but fortunately, because, you know, the fans in Canada really treat their stars right. In other words, they do not bother them when they're doing something, and this is the case with Wayne. He's watching a football game. They've now gone back to their seats so Wayne can enjoy it.
Well, he's one of the great individuals, not only as an athlete, but there's never been anybody who can handle a crowd like he can. It doesn't matter whether they're all high-profile business executives or children. He's the best I've ever seen. Anyway, it is 2nd down, 10 yards to go. Hamilton from their 27-yard line. Tedford going deep, and Scott Colley is wide open and has it down at the 45-yard line. He got in behind Darnell Class, and had that ball been thrown to lead the receiver, it would have been a touchdown.
Yeah, Scott Colley really noted for his moves more than his speed. Really put one on Darnell Clash right there. He does a stop and go, or a hook and go, if you will, and had Jeff Tedford thrown it a little farther, as Pat suggested, Scott Colley, it would have been a foot race. Nevertheless, it's 37 yards, and Tedford's got something going.
Well, the Ticats need this touchdown to get the fans back into this ball game, that's for sure. They start now from the BC 45-yard line, and right away, the pass is picked out by Glenn Jackson. Glenn Jackson has been one of the premier football players in the CFL for a good many years, and he showed you why. He was kind of quiet in that first half, but here, early in the second half of play, he comes up with the big interception.
Well, that's just strictly experience, Pat. Glenn Jackson, rather, saw Tedford take that 2-step drop and look to the outside. He knew it was going to be a quick out, so at 6'3", he can put up those tall arms, and he came up with the interception.
Well, we said he'd been around for a while. This is his 10th year as a pro from Simon Fraser University, and there's never been a Canadian linebacker any better than Glenn Jackson. First down, Lions from the Hamilton 45. Cowan got caught up in the traffic and ultimately was dropped by Grover Covington. Mike Walker was there to pin him, but it was Covington that made the play, and as a matter of fact, he tried to strip him of the football, but Cowan was alert enough to be able to hang on to it.
Speaking of alert, you were alert watching him try and strip that football. I was just going to mention that. It's a good play. Got to try and create that turnover early in the third quarter if they can. You're sharp, Pat, in your first game.
Is this mid-season form?
Oh, you're sharp tonight. Bill Sharp down the sideline, got all the good information going.
And he was able to keep the reins away. He's done a terrific job down there.
Oh, you're right, gentlemen, you're right. Let's hope the reins stay away, too.
It's 2nd down and 10 yards to go. As Cowan puts it up, looking for Mervyn Fernandez, and they rule no catch. Now, Mervyn is mad because the ball popped up in the air, and he felt that he made the catch with 1 foot in bounds.
Let's have a look. Mervyn Fernandez working on the out pattern on number 15, Les Brown, who was injured earlier. Les Brown has a good chance, if he'd been a little taller, to make that interception, but an excellent call.
Well, Mervyn had 1 foot inbounds, but the foot that was out of bounds came down first.
Just didn't have control.
I'll tell you who looks sharp, Pat and Leaf, and that is this BC Lion Football Club. You consider their first-string quarterback out of there. They have really looked good, offensively and defensively.
Well, that really doesn't come as any surprise to you, Bill, I know, because we've all been talking about the Lions. As Derek Peels fumbles the attempted punt return, but the Ticats were fortunate to get it back. However, they'll be starting from their own 12-yard line. This thing could really turn into a disaster for Hamilton. It's bad enough right now at 28-7.
Well, you know, that's what happens, though, Pat, and I think Leaf can tell us. He's been over here in Hamilton when things have gone wrong, and when they start going wrong and the fans get on you and you start pressing, that's when everything goes bad.
Well, it can be tough coming off the sidelines. The fans are so close to the players' benches. They were pretty nice to me when I played here in my career, but when things weren't going well, they sure let you know it in a hurry.
It's been a while since things have gone well here in Hamilton, despite the fact that they got to the Grey Cup last year. It required 2 monsoons for them to get there. Derek Fields is thrown out of bounds as he gets to, well, he was trying to get back to the line of scrimmage. I don't even know if he made that. Well, as we suggested to you, we're going to involve you, the fan, in selecting our Carling O'Keefe Game Stars. Now, there'll be 2 from BC, 2 from Hamilton. This is going to be great. Get your pencils and papers out and write down these phone numbers, and Leaf will explain it to you.
I will.
Those are not lottery numbers.
Derek Fields makes the catch. Konar was there to bring him down at the 13-yard line. It'll bring up a 3rd down. Let's throw those numbers back up so the fans can actually make note of them. There will be 2 BC Lions selected as the offensive game star, and if you want to vote for them, the number is 1-900-720, and then 2665 or 2666. Excuse me, those are the defensive stars. Well, you'll get the hang of it as we throw them up. I think this was Stevenson's idea, you know that? This is Darnell Clash at the 44. Flag comes down. Well, you want to talk about desire? This is one of the great returns in Canadian Football League history. This man was wrapped up 5 or 6 times, and Darnell Clash simply refused to go down. There is a penalty marker back at the point where he caught the football. Let's see what it's about.
What an outstanding individual effort. Once again, that picket line to the wide side of the field. And they're going to bring it all back, but nevertheless, you can't take the effort away from Darnell Clash. Only 5'10", 170 pounds, a big heart as he works it downfield for what he thought was a touchdown.
Well, here's the call from referee Ross Perrier.
Illegal block, BC number 12. First down.
Well, as spotter Alex Ponton pointed out to me, Bruce Barnett, number 12, was called for clipping. And that's unfortunate because that was a tremendous individual effort by Darnell Clash. It was a 48-yard punt. He returned it 62 yards. And it's all for naught. You know, that's the thing when you're playing for a club with BC. You want to give it your all every time you're on the field because they have such terrific backup strength that if you don't play well, you're going to be out of the lineup. But Darnell Clash, with that punt return, deserved a better fate than befell him.
Well, you're right about that, Pat, but you were talking about Al Wilson, the great center of the BC Lions a little earlier. This is game 200. The best comment came from Coach Don Matthews. He said, you know, he's an offensive lineman. To play that many games, he must have played some without a helmet.
Eddie Michaels, I think, was the last player that ever did play without a helmet. The pass is complete to Fernandez, who gets over the 40 to about the 43-yard line. And that's a pickup of about 8 yards. So the ball is at the BC 43. Make it second down and 3 full yards to go for the first down. Keevan Jenkins. And Jenkins very nearly broke that one as he gets into Hamilton territory and is finally dropped at the 50-yard line by Ben Zambiazzi. A gain of 17 yards, and much of that on second effort.
Well, great plays and great efforts become infectious on a ball club. He just saw that punt return by Darnell Clash. Sandusky's had a great night, so Keevan Jenkins says, I'm going to try and run as hard as I can. Picked up 17.
Again, this is Jenkins. And he crosses the 45 to about the 43-yard line where John Priestner is there to bring him down, and that's the first time we've mentioned John Priestner's name this evening.
Pat, other than that one sack we featured in our highlights at halftime by Mitchell Price, I can't recall a BC quarterback being sacked other than that, and that offensive line's just done a great job. That time, Hamilton stunting. They picked it up, have given Cowan the necessary time to throw.
gain was 8 yards. It is 2nd and 2. This is John Henry White, and he reaches for the 40-yard line. If he gets there, he's got another first down. Referee Ross Perrier says he wants the sticks out there. A measurement. With 9 minutes and 13 seconds, and this man, Al Bruno, obviously aware of the deficiencies of his ball club. And they have shown graphically tonight that their biggest deficiency is moving the football.
Well, Pat and Leaf, if you don't have quarterbacking stability, you just can't win in pro football. And they simply have quarterbacks who have not been around long enough, and as Leaf pointed out before the game, have seen so limited action that it's going to take time.
Right now, it's another first down for BC at the 40. Cowan quickly to Kevan Jenkins. He has another first down as he gets very close to the 25-yard line, tripped up by Gerald Best, the cornerback, number 14. Gain was 14 yards for Jenkins.
It's an interesting formation. They line Kevan Jenkins, the running back, out a wide receiver, and it's the quick screen to the wideout. He picks up 14 yards, and the BC Lions offense looks so smooth in their opening game here in 1985. Tim Cowan just doing an excellent job directing the attack.
Jenkins has handled the ball 15 times tonight, 8 times rushing, 7 times pass receiving. And this was the screen set up to John Henry White, but he didn't hang on. So it'll bring up a 2nd and 10. However, there is a flag down on the field. Penalty is against the BC Lions, and I believe it was for holding.
Holding, BC number 68. First down repeated.
All right, let me give you the offensive stars for the BC Lions. It's number 3, that's Jim Sandusky, and Tim Cowan, the quarterback, number 11. And for Hamilton, it is Steve Stapler, number 3, and number 25, Scott Colley. This is Jenkins. And Jenkins fights his way inside the 25 to about the 24-yard line. It'll bring up a 2nd and 9. Now the defensive stars for the British Columbia Lions. Number 77 is Mike Gray. Number 37 is Glenn Jackson. For Hamilton, number 31 is Ben Zambiazzi. And number 65 is Mitchell Price. And those are the numbers to call. There's a 50-cent service charge. And we will take your votes and select our offensive and defensive game stars according to your talent. Mervyn Fernandez with the catch, down around the 15-yard line, and that should be another first down for the Lions. And it is. So Swervin Mervyn hasn't caught any long ones tonight, but he's been very effective on those short outs.
That's why he's so effective on those short outs. They're giving him a lot of room tonight. And Don Matthews made no secret about it in the press conference yesterday. He said, I want to throw the ball long if I can.
It's 28-7. The BC Lions lead the Hamilton Ticats. We'll be back in a moment.
When you're out there calling balls and strikes, you have to have the eyes of an eagle because you really can't afford to miss a thing, which is why I was one of the first to notice that Miller Lite is brewed right here in Canada. I really do like light. It tastes great and it tastes less filling. As I'm always telling the guys on the diamond, if you want to get anything by me, you've got to get up pretty early.
Light beer from Miller, now brewed in Canada. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
The 1985 Chevy Cavalier is the car for the two of you. The one you demands his money's worth in comfort, features, and quality. The other you enjoys the performance of an electronic fuel-injected 4 or available multi-port injected V6 and GM's 5-year feature guard warranty. Happily, the new Chevy Cavalier brings both of you together. No wonder it's GM's best-selling car.
It's the Chevy way to go. Way to go, Chevy. Way to go, Chevy.
Well, as I mentioned in the first quarter, Coach Don Matthews of the BC Lions said we have a chance to be the best since I've been here in British Columbia. When When you've got the kind of depth where you lose your starting quarterback and bring in a man like Tim Cowan, who proceeds to complete 20 of 26 passes for 277 yards and 2 touchdowns, I think you'd have to agree that Don Matthews' assessment of his football team is correct.
Their depth is just outstanding. They've got some fellows that left at home, fellows like wide receiver Ned Armour, running back Freddie Sims, who are exciting players, but they can't crack the lineup.
First down for the Lions at the Hamilton 16-yard line. Tim Cowan bobbled the pass from center and simply had to fall on it back at the 20-yard line.
The story, by the way, gentlemen, on Ben Zambiasi, he was on the ground just as we went away for the commercial. He came off under his own power. He banged up the left knee just a little bit. He was grimacing slightly, but as he went by, he told me, he says, I don't think it's bad. Bit of a bruise, and I'll be back.
Edgar Avekas is in the lineup in place of Ben Zambiasi, although Priestner has moved into the middle. Swing pass to Jenkins. Touchdown, British Columbia. He just flew by everybody. He just took the little swing pass from Tim Cowan, and that was it. Forget it. Kevan Jenkins goes into the end zone, and now it's a rout.
Well, Jim Sandusky doing some blocking downfield to help his buddy Kevan get into the end zone. But that's a play they've had great success with all evening. Swing it out to Kevan Jenkins. It's a design play. The blockers just get out there as fast as they can in front of them. 65, Gerald Roper gets a good block. Al Wilson's out front. And that's just a well-executed play.
That really is a pony backfield, though, when you consider that Kevan Jenkins is 5'10 and John Henry White is only 5'9. But what a job as the BC Lions increase their lead to 35-7. We'll be back with the kickoff in just a moment. Hamilton's total offense is 91. As Howard Fields with the kickoff return, and he finds some open room. Well, he has certainly been a bright spot for the Hamilton Ticats. That's his third outstanding kickoff return by Howard Fields, who takes it all the way to the BC 48-yard line.
It's a great individual effort. You can't teach this to a kick returner. He just sees that opening, gets a block from Derek Peels, and he's off and running. Watch number 35, Eric Emery, the backup linebacker I've been mentioning tonight. He could have caught him from behind had he not been forced out of bounds by the kicker, Lupus Aglia.
54 yards, the return by Howard Fields. Now this is a screen set up to Steve Stapler, and Stapler gets to the 40-yard line. He'll have a pickup of 7 before Kevin Konar, the UBC graduate, is there to bring him down.
That was just the same play that BC just ran a few moments ago to Kevan Jenkins. You see just the difference in timing. Hamilton was just that fraction of a second late getting their blockers out, and the play didn't work. BC, on the other hand, executed perfectly.
Second down, 3 yards to go for the Ticats. Tedford drops the football. Tyrone Cruz hopped on it, but they rule that the ball was dead. Cruz made the tackle. You can see he's upset. He made the tackle. Tedford coughed up the football. Cruz was there to recover it, but they rule he was down.
Well, Cruz already has one fumble recovery tonight. You see the great speed they have in their linebacking core. He's come all the way from the middle, and I think he's got a little bit of a beef there. That ball came loose on the way down.
It did, but it was out of bounds. The ball rolled out of bounds before Cruz was able to gather it in.
Well, I'll tell you something. That's questionable, too. I'm standing right along the line, and that ball, as far as I'm concerned, never went out of bounds.
That's what I said.
Never touched the line.
That's what I said. It was out of bounds.
It's your turn, Pat.
Now, Bernie Ruoff, with a 50-yard field goal try, puts it up, and it is wide. But Melvin Bird was going to concede the single point. Now he'll kill some time off the clock and finally steps outside the end zone. So Bernie Ruoff's 50-yard field goal try goes for a single point to make it a 35-8 ball game in favor of the Lions.
Well, if you think that the Hamilton Tiger Cats are having a tough time tonight, just imagine what's going to happen. They're in against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers in Winnipeg this coming Thursday. That's just a few days away. And those Blue Bombers are going to be as angry as a bunch of buzzing bees after being knocked off by the Montreal Concords. And by the way, that's why Ben Zambiasi will not come back in the game. They want to make sure that he can play Thursday, so they're not going to chance bringing him in again.
Little draw to Jenkins once again. And he crosses the 45 to about the 48. There's the Cookie Monster himself, Ben Zambiasi.
Has one store called Sweet Surrender, and in a couple of weeks opening up his second one. Got his landed immigrant status, making Hamilton his year-round home, and that's what we've always liked to see in the Canadian Football League. Fellas come up in Ben's case from Georgia and made a home and a career here.
And just signed a new 2-year contract the other day.
That's right.
On 2nd and 5, Cowan pulls it down and runs for the first down as he gets to midfield. Leo Ezrins, number 72, along with John Priestner, 36, were there to bring him down. But it was a quick, alert move by the graduate of the University of Washington. Cowan was at Washington for 5 years with the Huskies before coming to the Lions. Dressed for all 16 games last year, and of course took over from Roy DeWalt when Roy suffered that broken collarbone against the Toronto Argonauts late in the season. Cowan's pass is caught by Mervyn Fernandez at the 45-yard line.
Oh, that's just an unbelievable catch. He threw the ball before Mervyn even turned. Mervyn looked around and look what I found. Plucked it out of the air.
Time is called here momentarily by referee Ross Perrier, who now signals time back in. We've got 2 minutes and 43 seconds left to play in the third quarter of a BC Lions rout of the Hamilton Ticats, 35-8. I'll guarantee you that the Edmonton Eskimos are watching closely because they'll be the visitors at BC Place next Saturday. Cowan's pass complete to Fernandez. This is what Mervyn does so well when he catches the ball. He knows how to get it upfield, and he gets it to the 23-yard line.
Well, when things are going your way, you feel like you can do anything and get away with it. A second and short, they fake the run and isolate Mervyn Fernandez one-on-one on Gerald Best, and that's a tough job. He fakes deep downfield and then comes back on the hook pattern.
And picks up 22 yards. First down, Lions at the Hamilton 23. Cowan now going deep to the end zone for Fernandez. There was contact down there, but no flag is thrown.
Well, Les Brown just made a heck of a job. The referee said he stayed in bounds and picked off that pass intended for Mervyn Fernandez. Nice job by number 15.
Well, we'll take a look at that when we come back. Right now, the Lions are out in front, 35-8, with 1:48 left to play in the third quarter. Vote for Jim Sandusky, the offensive game star. You dial 1-900-720-2661. If you want to vote for Tim Cowan, number 11, it's 2662, and then we go to the defensive stars. And those are the numbers that are up as the nominees for the defensive game stars tonight. There's a 50-cent service charge. We'll record your vote and make the selections according to how you feel the game has gone. First downs in the ball game, 26 for BC, 2 for Hamilton. But the Ticats will try to get something going right here from their 25-yard line after the pass interception by Les Brown. They swing it out to Derek Peels. And Peels fights his way across the 30 to the 31-yard line for a pickup of 6. Second down, 4 yards to go for the Ticats, who, believe it or not, led this game at one time, 7-0. Then the BC Lions rattled off 35 straight points. Bedford's pass will be ruled a completion because Scott Colley was interfered with by Wendell Williams, number 17, who came over the back.
Well, I think there's no question about this one. Scott
Forward
Colley.
pass interference. BC number 17, first down.
Running the hook pattern as he works back to the quarterback. Wendell Williams comes right over the top, makes contact before the ball arrives, and Interesting story. Wendell Williams from Fresno State, his buddy in the backfield there, Keith Gooch from Fresno State, and the guy that just threw that pass, Jeff Tedford from Fresno State. So he's going against a couple of old teammates.
And not having much success doing so. Tedford's pass for Scott Colley again. He makes the catch. And then Darnell Clash was able to hang on and force him out of bounds at the 50-yard line for a 15-yard pickup and another Hamilton first down. All of this coming in the final 30 seconds of this third quarter.
Good move to the inside by Scott Colley. Gets Darnell Clash turned around, and nice delivery, Jeff Tedford.
You know, it's funny, this game of football, though. I was watching the shot of Jackie Parker on the sidelines last night when the Edmonton Eskimos appeared to have lost the ball game. The Argos were taking over, and Jack looked so down, and then a few seconds later, when Conrad Holloway was hit and the ball came loose, Edmonton fell on it for the go-ahead touchdown. They won the game. Jack all of a sudden changed his expression.
Well, I guess so.
But that's football is like life, isn't it? You never know when it's going to turn on you.
He's still one of the more casual head coaches in the sidelines, I find, though. Don't you think so?
Oh, I think so, Bill. I agree with you. His emotions are pretty well controlled last night. He could have really been jumping up and down, but he kept his composure, and they kind of snuck in and won that game.
But you know what was good? They ran the football well. That's what impressed me. I thought it was they had a good mix of running and passing, just as Montreal had in the opening game.
Well, I've always known that Milson Jones was a good runner, and he's getting a chance, it looks like, to alternate with Neil Lumsden, and he made the most of his opportunities last night, ran the draw play for a touchdown, and of course, those kids in Montreal, I was impressed with Tony Johns, that newcomer in Montreal, who ran the ball late in the fourth quarter. He's from Henderson State down in Arkansas, the first-round draft choice of Montreal, and that's, of course, why they were able to release Denny Ferdinand or trade him.
It's sometimes easier to run late in the fourth quarter than it is in the first. Tomorrow afternoon at 3:30, Joe Moss and his Ottawa Rough Riders against Jack Goda, Georgie Brancato, and all the fellas out in Saskatchewan against the Western Riders. And that should be a lot of fun out there. We'll have it for you here on CTV starting at 3:30. Frank Rigney and all the boys out in Regina are getting set to bring you that one. And Tedford is dropped right at midfield. There was just no room for him to go, and our friend Mike Gray, who's had such a big ball game, was there to register yet another quarterback sack.
Well, I don't know how the phone calls are going for the defensive player of the game, but I bet you that number for Mike Gray's been ringing more than the other ones, because he's really played a good ball game.
Do you think there's a chance that Tim Cowan has had the odd vote or two?
Yeah, I would say so.
Third sack of the ball game for Mike Gray. Well, if I had 50 cents, that's who I'd be phoning in for.
I'll lend it to you.
He wouldn't spend it himself.
Nice to see Dan Matheson's up close and personal look at Mike Gray at halftime, too. And Tedford really had his problems. He tripped over the center as he was backing away, trying to drop back into the pocket. And that happens as the gun sounds to end the third quarter of play with the British Columbia Lions out in front of the Hamilton Tiger Cats 35-8. And we'll be back for a look at the fourth quarter in just a few moments. Sauvé was there to bring him down at the 33-yard line. Let's take a look at those Chevrolet three-quarter statistics once again. I mean, look at the discrepancies, though. 26 first downs for BC, 4 for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
You know, Pat, 26 first downs would be a great statistic for 4 quarters, and they've done this after 3.
Boy, look at the passing yards for Cowan, 378. I know they're not all Cowan, but still most of them are.
Well, he's been good on 23 of 30 for 327 yards. Just a draw to John Henry White, and this time the Ticats were able to snuff it out back of the line of scrimmage. There to make the stop was number 65, Mitchell Price. Well, what the Ticats have to do now is try to suck it up and keep it as low as they can. 35-8 is the score right now. This is a good opportunity, though, for the Lions to let it all hang out. Cowan was hit just as he was getting ready to throw the ball by Sauvé. David Sauvé has started in various games over the years He's in there now because of an injury, but let's take a look at that hit by Dave Sauvé.
He's a fourth-year pro from Harvard University, and when he is in the lineup often is when they go to that three-man defense and they bring Greg Gary off the reserve list to play that extra linebacking spot.
So Louis Pisaglia will be punting for the BC Lions. Derek Peels, number 33, takes it for Hamilton, but only gets to about the 33-yard line, and that's where the Ticats will put it into play when we come back. Lions are comfortably in front by 27 points. They lead at 35-8. We'll be back in a moment. Early tomorrow, 9 o'clock, and watch Kevin Curran and Boris Becker in the Wimbledon Finals. You'll see it on CTV. Kevin Curran is really on a roll, but 17-year-old Boris Becker has really played well. First down. Ticats from their 34-yard line. And Pete Gales is in at quarterback. His handoff goes to Derek Peels. And Peels gets maybe a couple of yards at most. Pete Gales and Jeff Tedford have both been with the Ticats for the last couple of seasons. Tedford had absolutely no success. So now we see Pete Gales. Bill?
I've just got to say, the style of managing and coaching of the head coach of this BC Lion club, and I speak of Don Matthews, is best shown by his preseason work with the BC team. But I'll talk about that right after this offensive play.
Pete Gales from the University of Ottawa fires, and unfortunately it hit the turf before it got to the intended receiver, Steve Stapler. There is a penalty marker, however, down on the field, and it appears to be holding. Now, who is it against?
Pat, I know you meant the University of Iowa instead of the University of Ottawa.
That's exactly what I meant. The Buckeyes.
Holding.
Hawkeyes.
Hamilton, number 32.
I knew it wasn't.
Third down.
I knew it wasn't the GGs.
Well, Pat, what I was talking about was the fact that most people think preseason games don't mean nothing. At least the results of them don't mean anything. But one of the reasons this BC club always comes in ready to really get rolling is the fact they take the preseason games seriously. Just take a look at the record. Their loss this year, they had a record 3 wins, 1 loss. It was to Winnipeg at BC Place. But the interesting statistic is that that is the first preseason loss in 3 years. Now, that is something that Coach Matthews prides himself on, getting his club ready for those preseason games. He likes to win them, and it certainly shows the way this club starts the season.
Well, Bill, I think in a nutshell, it's really the talent that he always has in training camp or on his reserve list. At the competition level in the BC training camps and preseason games is so high that everybody has to really play and give their best.
So Bernie Ruoff is punting again for Hamilton. This is a good one. It sends Sandusky back to his 26. A flag comes down as Sandusky gets to the 38-yard line. And we'll see what the penalty marker is all about.
Illegal block, BC number 69. First down.
The call is against Jamie Buis, number 69, for an illegal block. And that moves the BC Lions back to their 21.5-yard line, where they will start with 12 minutes left to play in this fourth quarter. Ooh, that one was very nearly picked off. They were trying to set up the screen for John Henry White, but it was snuffed out neatly by Howard Fields. And Fields very nearly came up with the interception.
Well, Ticats finally got a little pressure there on Tim Cowan as well. Mitchell Price was right in his face when he had to deliver that football, and Howard Fields would have liked to have picked it off. Nevertheless, did the next best thing, knock it down. Ryan Potter in the ball game in that running back position, getting a little work, number 33. As Cowan looks for Ron Robinson, who is wide open, and Robinson steps out of bounds as he gets to the Hamilton 46-yard line. Well, Well, each time Ron Robinson's been able to get himself isolated on number 20, Mark Streeter, he's had success, caught that touchdown in the first half, and now runs a corner pattern, completely turns Mark Streeter around. Nice, easy, soft toss by Tim Cowan.
Good for 42 yards, his 4th reception of the night, and he has a total of 64 yards and the touchdown that Leaf mentioned.
Cowan's got nice touch on that pass. I mean, he could have tried to drill it in there, but he just laid it out, let him run underneath it, and that's the mark of a veteran quarterback.
And here's the mark of a veteran fullback, John Henry White, who gets inside the 40 to the 39-yard line. And we're going to be in Montreal on Wednesday for a telecast that will feature the Calgary Stampeders against the Concords. That'll only go, unfortunately, to the city of Calgary. But we're looking forward to that one because we want to see Joe Barnes and the new-look Calgary Stampeders in action. And you fans in Montreal, I hope you'll go out because you have a terrific football team there for 1985. Joe Latt, Bob Geary, they've worked so hard over the years, and they deserve everything that's coming their way this year. Cowan's pass again was very nearly snared, this time by Les Brown, as it popped out of the hands of Mervyn Fernandez. And Brown very nearly had himself an interception, and had he been able to pick up the ball, he'd have gone.
Get a low look at that hook pattern by Mervyn Fernandez right through his hands, and Les Brown, had he been able to hang on, would have had clear sailing.
So it'll bring up a 3rd and 5 for BC. And they're going to go for it. Fernandez makes the catch and is forced out by Les Brown at the 33-yard line. Bill?
On the bench with the BC Lions, it's Dennis Javen. He's twisted his knee, and you can see number 67, Javen, they have just put the ice pack on him, and it's a slight twist. He's waving. He says it's not that bad. Okay.
Well, the BC Lions have a lot to be thankful for and happy for tonight because they have played well. And, you know, a lot of people would say, why would they go on 3rd and 5? Obviously, Don Matthews doesn't want to add more points by having Louis Pasaglia come out and possibly kick the field goal. So what are you going to do? You don't kick the field goal, you got to try to make the first down. But it's not a matter that he's trying to rub it in.
Boy, he's excited about his ball club, and rightfully so. Yesterday at the press conference, you could just tell that it wasn't cockiness at all. It was just an air of confidence that he knew that he's got the team that he wants. He's got so many guys available if someone gets hurt. And, of course, look at the job Tim Cowan does. His #1 guy, and he makes no bones about it, is Roy DeWalt. But Roy gets hurt, and Cowan comes in and just does a remarkable job.
And just a reminder that tomorrow afternoon at 3:30 Toronto time, we will have the Saskatchewan Roughriders and the Ottawa Roughriders opening both their seasons out at Taylor Field in Regina. Dale Isaac, Frank Rigney, and our old pal will be there, Al McCann. Alphonse looked good last night, I thought. John Henry White was nailed in the backfield by Mitchell Price, so there will be a loss of a few yards.
Speaking of Saskatchewan, we've got the big Saskatchewan player reunion out there Labor Day weekend this year. All the greats from the past, I hope, will be in town. Fortunately, we'll be out broadcasting a game that weekend. I'll be able to reunite myself with George Reed and Ron Lancaster, Ed McQuarters, Jack Avichin, some of the great names from CFL past.
That'll be a great afternoon to be a part of. This is John Henry. A flag comes down as he gets inside the 30, very close to the 26-yard line. He'd be short by a couple of yards of the first down, but let's see what the marker is about. Leo Ezrin says push him back.
Holding, BC number 72. Second down repeated.
The holding call is against Mark DeBreeze, number 72. former Edmonton Eskimo and a former University of Western Ontario star. So that brings up a second and about 27 yards to go for the first down. And Cowan is going to go for all of it to Mervyn Fernandez, and he couldn't get to the ball.
Good coverage, Paul Bennett and Les Brown there. No way that Fernandez was going to be able to catch that football, but when it's 2nd and 23, you might as well let it fly, because this guy more often than not can come up with a big catch.
If you've just joined us, the Hamilton Ticats jumped out to a 7-0 lead, and then BC rattled off 35 straight points. Currently lead it 35-8. And that's really been indicative of the play as well, because the Hamilton offense just hasn't been able to move the ball. Louis Pasaglia angles it for the sideline, and it'll go out of bounds at about the 20-yard line. 35-8. BC leads Hamilton. We'll be back in a moment. Select the offensive and defensive Carling O'Keefe game stars at the conclusion of this ball game. If you think, as some of us do, that Tim Cowan should be the offensive star, dial 1-900-720-2662. Or if you feel that Jim Sandusky is the star, then dial 2661. The Hamilton Ticats, I don't think, are going to figure offensively. There is a 50-cent service charge, and there's the defensive game stars now. For BC, Mike Gray, 77, Glenn Jackson, 37, Ben Zambiazzi for Hamilton, 31, Mitchell Price, 65, and there are the phone numbers to call. And Derek Peels slithers his way out to about the 30-yard line for a pickup of a few, about 8 yards. Bernie Gleer, number 7, was there to bring him down, who's moved into a linebacking spot.
Well, Patty, sorry, even though it's apparent that the Ticats are going to lose this football game, I still think it's important for them offensively. If Pete Gales can come in now and take them down on a good march, confidence-wise, this is going to help them. It's going to help them for their game next week out of Winnipeg.
At least you're talking about the next game for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in Winnipeg. The BC Lions are going to be tested, because next Saturday night they're at home in that beautiful BC place to take on the Edmonton Eskimos, who will really be fueled up after that big win over Toronto.
Boy, Matt Dunnigan looked good last night. Got some great receivers to work with. There's Ray Jones, the head trainer of the Ticats, giving John Priestner, number 36, the outside linebacker, a little assistance. It doesn't get any easier for Hamilton after they travel to Winnipeg next week. They come back and entertain the Toronto Argonauts on a Friday night here at Hamilton, so their first 3 games are big tests.
Dave Graffey carried the ball on that previous play, only picked up a yard, so it's 3rd and 1.
Sorry, Pat. I was just going to say that Ray Jones, the trainer, just said it's only a bruise as far as Priestner's concerned.
Well, this is more than a bruise, because the ball was coughed up by Derek Peels, and it was recovered by the BC Lions. Will have possession at the 30-yard line. 35-8 is the score. The Lions lead it. We'll be back to see what they can do offensively in a moment. The 30-yard line. The give is to John Henry White. Leo Ezrins had him momentarily, but then John Henry was able to spin away from him and dive to about the 25-yard line. Ed Gadavekas, number 39, was finally able to drop him. And since he only got to the 26, it's a gain of 4. They've got Fernandez and Robinson to the right side of the formation, but Cowan hands off instead to John Henry White. And he gets to the line of scrimmage not much further, as the Lions apparently are quite content with the margin that they've built up, 35-8.
Yeah, you know what? Even though they're ahead by 35-8, the play selection gets tough for Tim Cowan here, because he doesn't really want to stick it to Hamilton at this point. They've got the game won, and so all he can do is just hand off the football here on 3rd down and 7. They're going to gamble again. And
well, let's tell it like it is. The Hamilton Ticats are in for a long, long season. I mean, they don't have anybody who has any experience at quarterback. If you can't move the football, like Mervyn Fernandez and Tim Cowan can, you're in trouble. Fernandez with another touchdown for the BC Lions and a brilliant catch, a 26-yard grab. He just extended himself fully, brought it in, and stepped into the end zone.
Well, Nick Volpe will have this for you in a minute on an isolation, but Tim Cowan so calm and cool as he rolls out, and Fernandez, arms extended, makes a great catch, 26 yards in the end zone, and you have to wonder when it's 3rd and 8, and they can take it 26 yards for a touchdown. Little corner pattern, working on Howard Fields, no chance, just pushes off and goes to the corner. Nice throw, nice catch. That's just like doing it in practice.
And Louis Passaglia's point after is good. So with 6 minutes and 3 seconds left to play, it is BC 42, Hamilton 8.
Would you have to say that the DeWalt-Cowan combination is the best duo quarterbacking that we have in the CFL?
Well, you'd have to think that Tom Clements and John Huffnagel certainly represent pretty solid quarterbacking.
Well, they do, and, you know, but the point is that there are very few backup quarterbacks that will move in and do the job that Tim Cowan has tonight. Despite the fact he's doing it against a Hamilton Ticat squad that's having problems, it's still a very good defense, but its problem is it's been on the field too much because of no offense.
Well, that's true, Bill, and I think you're right. It's a great 1-2 combination they do have. But that defense, they've done a lot of running, that secondary tonight. Howard Fields, Gerald Betson, those fellas, they've been out there a long time. There's Howard Fields. He's got to return this kickoff now, too.
They better get used to it because I suspect they're going to be out there for much of the season. Derek Peels has the ball bounce into the end zone, and now he brings it out. And does a pretty respectable job to get it to the 19-yard line.
You know, it's funny you talk about guys getting used to returning a lot of kickoffs and things. I was looking through the new record official manual the CFL put out this week, which is just a fantastic publication. And I saw where I played in a Grey Cup game in 1980 with Hamilton, and I saw Obie Graves set a record for kickoff returns. And I said, yeah, that's because Edmonton scored 48 or 50-odd points. He never would have had his name in the book.
Well, let's see if Pete Gales can move the Ticats at all. Derek Peels takes the handoff and crosses the 20 to the 22. So the clock mercifully is running at 5 minutes and 20 seconds left to play in the ball game. British Columbia 42, Hamilton 8. And they are certainly full value for the discrepancy in the scores. Flag comes down as Gales does as well back at the 16-yard line.
You know, I'd have to think, Pat and Leith, that one of the problems for anybody that's trying to scout the BC Lions here tonight, and I'm sure that the Winnipeg Blue Bombers...
Number 63, declined, 3rd down.
I'm sure the Blue Bombers are watching this one closely, and I'm sure that Edmonton is watching it closely because they take on the Lions Saturday in BC Place. It's, you know, just how good are the Leos or just how bad are the Hamilton Tiger Cats?
Well, I think you've got 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. Let me tell you that Fernandez, every receiver eligible to receive a pass has caught one for the BC Lions tonight. Mervyn has 11 for 138. And, of course, that touchdown scored just moments ago. Flag comes down as Jim Sandusky takes the punt to the 43-yard line, but they'll tack on a no-yards penalty as well.
You know, that's a rule I wish they'd really take a look at in the future. Here's a guy coming down on a short punt, and it was Dave Graffey, number 32. He's backpedaling, trying to get back out of the way, and he gets called for no yards. Tough.
Greg Courier, who's a broadcaster with CFRA in Ottawa, had a pretty good suggestion, I think. He said that when it's an unintentional no-yards penalty...
No yards. Hamilton, number 32.
It should only be a 5-yard penalty, and I really think that would be a pretty good idea because it was not an intentional one there. That was just a short kick, and the cover team was caught within it, so I'd like to see a 5-yard penalty.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good solution.
Well, the Lions just get back to the line of scrimmage, not any further. John Henry White was the ball carrier. John Priestner was there along with Mitchell Price to bring him down. Priestner was an interesting case. You'll remember when he came out of the University of Western Ontario, we went to the Baltimore Colts. And he stayed around for a year and then finally decided to come to Hamilton. This is John Henry again. And he gets to the 30-yard line, which will bring up a third down and about 8.5 yards to go. Leo Ezrin's brought him down at that point.
Actually, I think Priestner spent a couple of years in Baltimore. First year he played some special teams, and then the second year on the injured list the whole year. And, boy, you know, I can't blame him. If you got a chance to give it a shot, why not? And he's come back, had a great career in Hamilton, involved in business around the community. Got a nice career going for himself.
Well, the CFL is off to a terrific start. Those first two games were just classics.
No, it looks good, too, in Montreal is that Roy Kurtz is getting a chance to do the place kicking this year. Originally property of the BC Lions, last year came to the Concourse, spent the whole year on injury or 21-day trial. He just kicked his leg out. It went dead on him, but now he's getting his opportunity with Don Sweet playing out his option this year, and looked like he did a great job the other night.
Well, the Concords have really done a terrific job of building up their personnel. I mean, they acquired Mike McTagg this year, and Mike figured in the offense in that opening game against Winnipeg.
Nice
Got a
catch.
touchdown pass. And the whole key, of course, as Joe Galata said, is Turner Gill has to play well. Very nearly picked off again by the BC Lions. Glenn Jackson, who already has one interception tonight, stepped in front at the final moment and almost had his second. That's the score, 42-8, and we'll be back with the final 3:08 in just a moment. Columbia will be 1-0, Hamilton 0-1. And that really doesn't come as much of a surprise as Pete Gales throws to Rocky DiPietro, and it was complete. You know, we were speaking about John Hufnagel the other day, and I'm told that Hamilton did make an attempt to get Hufnagel, but the Bombers, who are such a well-run organization anyway, they said, yeah, we might be interested in giving him up. We'd like Rocky DiPietro. Well, you can't run an offense without a quarterback, and I know Rocky would be a stiff price to pay, but...
Now, Joe Zuger denied that rumor yesterday. We asked him about that. He said in no way was Rocky DiPietro ever on our list for anybody we'd give up.
No, I'm not suggesting that they would have given him up. My suggestion is that Winnipeg was interested in him. So the Ticats pick up their 5th first down of this ball game. They have the ball at their own 41-yard line. This, the give is to Dave Graffey, and Graffey gets back to the line of scrimmage.
Well, they've changed the defense around a little bit now with such a big lead. Eric Emery, is playing linebacker number 35 from Cal State Fullerton. Nelson Martin moved out to the inside safety spot, and number 12, Bruce Barnett from UBC, their number 1 draft choice, is in now at the middle safety spot.
Oh, there's a little trick play that went awry, and Steve Stapler has to chase it back to the 5-yard line. And Steve is dropped as he crosses the 10 to the 12. That's a fairly substantial loss of 29 yards.
Is this Murphy's Law, what can go wrong, Will, or whatever it is?
Murphy should have been forced to play with the Hamilton Ticats tonight.
Well, here comes Steve Stapler on the reverse. Derek Fields never gets the handoff into him and goes from bad to worse.
A minute 51 left to play in the 4th quarter. It is BC 42, Hamilton 8. I was talking to Ronnie Lancaster before the ball game. I suggested that maybe he could suit up and make a comeback.
I don't know, the way he puffed up the stairs when he came in to give us a visit, I'm not sure he could.
He used to puff when he was playing with Saskatchewan anyway.
He's a great one.
Now there's a time count violation called against the Ticats. And that enables Bernie Ruoff to come onto the field. Now, do you want to explain to me why he wasn't out there?
No.
Time count violation. Hamilton, number... Okay.
Call it on anybody, Ross. It really doesn't matter. Well, what you can say about tonight's game is that the BC Lions have a very, very good football team. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats have to go back to the drawing board. Ruoff with a good punt. Darnell flashes back to the 50-yard line and then just falls forward to the 45 with a minute 21 left to play. But, you know, you look around the league, with the exception of Hamilton, there are some very entertaining quarterbacks in the CFL. Let's take Cowan and DeWalt here. Matt Dunnigan, I think, is going to be just one of the great, great stars of the CFL. If Homer Jordan and Joe Pau are healthy in Regina, they've got two competent quarterbacks. Winnipeg with Clements and Huffnagel.
J.C. Watts and Bernard Quarles in Ottawa.
Turner Gill in Montreal. Conridge, Holloway in Toronto. So there are some terrific quarterbacks. The only club that really doesn't have anything going for it at that key position is Hamilton. And it certainly was magnified here tonight playing against a good defense like BC's.
Because I felt sorry for Conridge last night. He had such an outstanding evening, and then the forced fumble late in the game, of course, to lose it. But what a start he had, hooking up with Terry Greer.
But then he brought the club right back, and a 35-yard field goal would have tied it, but Hank Olisic wasn't able to come through. So the Lions will be content to see if they can run the clock here. 55 seconds left to play in the game. Ryan Potter, number 33, was the ball carrier.
Well, it'll be a nice 5-hour flight for the BC Lions back tonight. When you win the season opener and win it big 42-8, things are going good. John Henry tried to get to the outside, and he did get inside the 35-yard line, which would be enough for a first down. And that will go on the positive ledger side of the statistical story for the BC Lions. How many first downs, Bobby? 30 first downs for the BC Lions, says statistician Bob Layden. And 5, I believe it is, for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. It's almost like the score.
Yep. Tim Cowan takes the pass from center, goes down on one knee. Well, Donnie Matthews has just done a sensational job. Bobby Ackles has done a great job. And Bob Vespasiani, who took over from Bill Quinter. Bill, who, of course, is going to do the same thing in Saskatchewan as he did in BC. He's going to get some top-flight talent in Saskatchewan. And Bill Quinter is very responsible for the lineup that these BC Lions have as well. Bobby Ackles has done a great job as the general manager. And they've all got to be happy because in this, their opening game, the BC Lions completely hammer the Hamilton Tiger Cats 42-8. The fans boo the Ticats as they leave the field, and it's probably understandable. Tim Cowan just had a magnificent evening coming on in relief of Roy DeWalt. And make no mistake that Roy DeWalt is the first-string quarterback of the BC Lions, but Tim Cowan has certainly laid claim to his own specific area of that club because he showed tonight he can do the job.
Well, there he's walking off the field telling Jeff Tedford, that's how you do it.
Well, you can see the overwhelming response was in favor of the BC Lions. 317 fans voted for Tim Cowan, 230 for Jim Sandusky, 16 for Scott Colley, and 3 for, well, that was Steve Stapler. He got 11 votes. Defensively, number 77. Well, the fans were certainly watching the same game we were. Mike Gray is the defensive star of the game. 403 votes for Mike Gray. And then they go down to 126 for Glenn Jackson, 25 for Ben Zambiazzi, and 18 for Mitchell Price. So the offensive and defensive game stars will both be from the British Columbia Lions, deservedly. They win the football game 42-8. Bill Stevenson, where are you located?
I'm located right on the sidelines with Don Matthews, the victorious coach. Don, congratulations. I know that the Hamilton club didn't put up much opposition, really, or maybe it was the fact that your club put up so much, but you had to be happy, nevertheless, the way you moved the offense.
Bill, what we're happy with is, you know, they came out and got on the scoreboard first, and I think because we have a veteran football team that, you know, they didn't get rattled. They stood in there and hung in there. Roy got hurt a little bit. We went with Tim, and they still were able to keep their poise, put some points on the board, and I'm just delighted with the entire team effort.
Well, I would have to think so, especially Tim. I mean, he really did a great job for you, considering he went in there as a reliever out of the bullpen.
Well, Tim really got a lot of great experience last year, you know, when Roy went down, and we feel that because of that, we're stronger at our quarterback position. Roy was ready to play. He could have played, but because of the situation of the game and because of the fact that he was hit in the head a little bit, we certainly want to take all the precautions. But Roy's going to be fine and ready to play next week.
Now, going back to the first part of this game, you took a couple of gambles in the first quarter. Is that going to be your style this year?
Well, I think that has been our style. You know, we do like to get a couple of risks going once in a while. I think it does a lot of things like excite our football team. It's very similar to what I think that when a basketball coach takes a technical foul, I think sometimes it has an effect, whether it's successful or not. I think it does have an effect on our football team.
Well, let's face facts. You can't tell from this game just how good your BC Lions are. But you know, you've taken them through an exhibition season in which they were 3-1. Tell me, how good are they, do you feel?
Well, I think we've got a good team, but we've got to continue to improve. I think that Keevan Jenkins adds something to our offense. I think that we're spreading the ball around a little bit more on offense. I think our defense came up big like they were supposed to, like we hoped that they would. So I think that if we continue to progress in the tough Western Division, we're going to be all right.
And they are better than they were last year.
Well, I think we've got a chance to be, Bill. I don't know if we are right now, but, you know, as the year goes on, if we continue, we've got a good chance to be better.
All right, Don Matthews, thank you very much. Congratulations for a fine start.
Thank you.
Don Matthews, the head coach of the BC Lions, with the big victory tonight, and we'll be back in just a moment.
And now, the Carling O'Keefe Sports...
This is after night job he did, and you just looked like you came out and you were completely in charge all the way.
Well, thanks. That's what I'm supposed to do, like I was telling
But you don't always do it, Tim.
Well, the more you do it, the better you are. So things went good. I went out there and I understood what I wanted to do with the game plan, and I wanted to spread the ball around. And the last couple of weeks, I found myself getting down here in the plus territory and trying to force the ball in the end zone. And I kind of made sure that I didn't force anything, just made it work, and it went well.
Tim, would you say that the games that you had last year after the injury to Roy DeWalt, that's when you really had the chance to find yourself as a quarterback, and that's what we saw here tonight?
It gave me a chance to go ahead and get a lot of experience, and that's something that I was really lacking in the past. And it certainly benefited me, and I think it benefited our team because they understood that I could play. And I don't know, confidence is a real important part of it, and everybody's involved in the whole scheme, and the more people that are involved and understand what's going on, the stronger team you have. And that's what I tried to do, was let everybody know that I was here and I wanted to help. And again, tonight I got a chance to help.
Are you a better quarterback now than you were when you took over last year?
I think so in a lot of ways. I feel a lot more confidence. I say as far as confidence goes, I'm a lot better quarterback.
How about your mechanics, though?
I've got a lot of work to do. You know, I'm still not playing quite as well as I want to and doing the type of things I want to, but I'm not going to get any better unless I'm out here doing it.
Well, that's very true. But you know that you're still number 2, despite the fact you look so good tonight.
Sure.
You're going to have to wait your time, right?
Yeah, and that's fine. Again, I want to contribute to the BC Lions cause for a Grey Cup.
You think this is the year you can do it? Do the rest of the players feel this way, too?
The attitude is really good, and this is the first game, and you can't, put all your eggs in one basket, but it was a heck of a start for us.
Sure was. Tim Kahn, congratulations. The Carling O'Keefe Offensive Star of the game.
Thanks a lot.
We'll be back with Mike Gray in a moment.